Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust with your Sports Center update. First on the Fan, the NBA trade deadline has just now passed, but details of any last-minute deals could still trickle in. The biggest move of the last 24 hours, Jimmy Butler headed to the Warriors, Kyle Anderson to the Raptors, Andrew Wiggins, PJ Tucker to the Heat, and Dennis Schroeder to the Jazz, who are now sending him to the Pistons. KJ Martin, Josh Richardson, and a second-round pick are going from the Pistons to the Jazz. The Lakers acquiring center Mark Williams from Charlotte for Dalton Knecht, Cam Reddish, an unprotected first-round pick and a 2030 pick swap. The Suns trading Yusuf Nurkic and a first-rounder to the Hornets for Cody Martin, Vasilije Micic, and a second-round pick. The Hawks sending forward DeAndre Hunter to the Cavaliers for Karis LeVert, George Niang, 3 second-round picks and 2 pick swaps. The Clippers trading Terrence Mann and Bones Highland to the Hawks for Bogdan Bogdanovic and 3 second-round picks. And the Grizzlies trading Marcus Smart to the Wizards in a multi-team trade that will send 2 second-round picks to the Memphis. Haven't seen any news yet on the Trailblazers. They host the Kings tonight, 7 o'clock tip on K2 2.2 on your antenna. Xfinity Channel 302. Matisse Thybulle still out for Sacramento. The newly acquired Jonas Valanciunas is a game-time decision. Blazers have won 9 of their last 10 and are 1-point favorites. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite fan shows on the Odyssey app. The only way to rewind Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. This week, Danny and Dusty think everything's super.
Oh, it's huge. It was an absolute youth.
This is Danny and Dusty on Super Week.
Injured? Don't trust just anyone to something so personal. Call George McCoy at Warren Allen. Online at warrenallen.com.
Danny and Dusty on 1080.
Uncle burning crap. Big butts matter.
The Fan.
Good afternoon! Hey, welcome in. Happy Thursday. Trade deadline has passed.
It has. There's
Ding,
still
ding,
a few things trickling in, but I have not heard anything about any Blazers-related stuff that was under the wire, so
No Blazer moves.
checking my phone.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything regarding the Portland Trail Blazers. That falls pretty flat.
Doesn't really fall that flat. Been saying this for a month now.
Well, it does because, hold on, but a month ago you were saying that, this isn't just you. I don't want to make it sound like it's just you. It was nobody's going to be making moves. The CBA is making it way too restrictive. And meanwhile, we have seen a plethora of moves.
And a big part of that being the biggest move in trade history.
Yeah.
Kind of being a pry bar for what ended up happening.
This isn't to say that the Blazers should have tried to go and acquire Jimmy Butler or Luka Doncic or Anthony Davis or Brandon Ingram or Zach LaVine or De'Aaron Fox or Andrew Wiggins or Kyle Kuzma, right? But they didn't get in on any of it. And this is where you're sitting there. How many of the other teams that are in the same boat as Portland got into some deals and said, you know what, we're going to collect more assets, valuable assets, and that is where it becomes that relationship business, right? Of that's what a front office's job is to do, right? Is you make those connections. You say, we've got things that are of value. We've been told that there have been there are veterans of value here in Portland, and obviously teams were buyers at the deadline, and there were some teams that took on a lot of bloated money that is going to be expiring, or there's going to be options at the end of the year that teams can get out of and wipe their hands of. And the Blazers were on the sidelines by all accounts and reports. Now, look, that's not to say that Joe Cronin was just sitting on his hands and not doing anything, and the front office was just not active at all. Maybe it didn't, none of the deals did come to fruition. But at the same time, we've been told they've had assets, right? And this is the time to move them. And when there's as much movement and as many variety of contracts are bouncing around the NBA, I can see how for a lot of Blazer fans it falls short. You don't sit there, though, and say, well, they just should have done something. No.
What's the thing they should have done, and then how do you accomplish it, and what do you give back?
See, but
And
that's
that's the thing is like, and this isn't defending them. I'm looking at all the deals
Yeah.
that have transpired. There isn't a deal there where I like, oh, they should have got in on that. Like the DeAndre Hunter one, I saw some people like, oh, I thought the Cavs might look that way. DeAndre Hunter is $7 million younger, and they didn't have to give up a first. And on the flip side of it, the Hawks were trying to get off of him. Like the Hawks are already putting out there publicly that they're shorting DeAndre Hunter.
Mhm.
Like he's got one good year. Like see you later, bye. Like
Yeah.
because he's been so injury prone. So there's
And by the way, that deal, the DeAndre Hunter, he goes to the Cavaliers. The Hawks get Karis LeVert, Georges Yang, 3 second-round picks, and 2 pick swaps.
2 swaps, and the swaps are swaps of swaps, and the seconds, one of them's not going to convey because it's was it protected 40 through 60,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. So it's like, huh?
Yeah.
Which is probably where it's going to fall, but it wasn't. If that's what you want to give up for Jeremy Grant, I mean, go
That's
ahead.
not, but this is the thing here. We can't look at these deals as that's the deal that would have happened, right? That Jeremy Grant is a valuable player, and it's not like you sit there and you plug Jeremy Grant in and you say, well, they're going to get the same return. No, it's a different return. And we're just throwing that out as an example, not like that it was talked about or even rumored about, right? The one that I look at, and the Luka Doncic trade, you said Dallas didn't even get the best pick.
No.
I think the one that
they still had assets.
I think the one that I look at and I'm like, okay, now it's not going to be the same package at the end of the day, but the Blazers, like there's a Williams here in Portland that probably makes a lot of sense in LA too. And Mark Williams goes from Charlotte to LA. Now his deal, he is only making $4 million this year, $6 million next year. Okay.
Yeah, he's still on his rookie scale deal.
Yes. Robert Williams makes 11 and 12, I believe, over the next 2 years.
Which again, very, very, very good deal.
It is a very good deal. But you would have had to find a way to make the monies work. But think of the deal, and this is what Charlotte, they were wheeling and dealing, man. They get a sweetheart deal from the Lakers. They might have gotten a better deal from the Lakers for Mark Williams than the Mavericks got for Luka Doncic, for God's sakes. They get Dalton Connect, Cam Reddish, and an unprotected 2031 first-round pick and a 2030 pick swap from the Lakers there, right?
Yeah. No, that deal was massive, and the reason I was like, well, why didn't the Blazers get that? Because, well, Mark's bigger, younger, cheaper. That's why. He's what, 23? Yeah, he's 23. And here's the thing. He's very injury prone. Very. He has only appeared in 34% of the total games. Actually, no, 39% of total games coming into this season.
He has missed 2 games due to injury management, 1 game for a foot, 1 game for injury management, 20 games for a foot, 62 games for a back, 1 game for a back, 1 for an ankle, 6 for a thumb, 10 for an ankle, 3 for an ankle.
Yeah.
He is 23 years old.
My man has got an Allen Iverson injury record already.
That right there.
But the potential is sky high.
But that right there was 2031 first round pick, which is
really good.
Going to be a really damn good
pick. So they underpaid drastically for Luka, and they overpaid for Mark Williams.
So, and you say, well, he's younger, he's less expensive, and he's bigger. Robert Williams, when he is on the floor, he has his injury history too, is a better player.
Probably.
Yeah.
I would say the difference between him and Mark is that Mark is more of a, not that he has any more offensive game, but he's a guy that when he is healthy, which, God, that's a caveat, you see what he's done over the past couple of weeks. I think he's averaging like 20 and 12 or something along those lines over the last 2 weeks. Like, as good as Rob is more on the defensive side while being a vertical threat. We've seen him get above the box. Like, that's not the thing. But if the slider is, one way or the other, his is more on defense. He's definitely a lob threat. But if you're talking about like the best possible lob threats in the league to pair with Luka, Williams is top 3 on that list.
And I think of it in these terms, like, and this is what I hate is like, I hate well, just do something, right? And it's that is a fool's game And that is something that every front office is like, dude, these things are really hard, and they are difficult. What is frustrating, though, and it is undeniable, is that a lot of the teams that are in the Blazers situation right now, where they are not in winning time now, but they're trying to either accumulate assets via the draft compensation or young talent, right? Or expiring deals to position yourself in a position to get into winning time. The teams that are in that boat with the Blazers, a lot of them did make those moves, whether it is Utah, Charlotte, Toronto, and the Blazers didn't. And like that is frustrating when you look at a lot of the teams that were in the same boat. It doesn't have to be a massive haul and be like, fleeced them. Absolutely not. But the mobility is something that we've heard about with, hey, we got veterans on good deals. Robert Williams is on a good deal. He is on he's not on a bloated deal, right? We're looking at these guys and saying, all right, where is that mobility that we've heard about? And that can be and is frustrating for a lot of Blazer fans that are out there, especially when you see, again, the other teams that are in the same kind of boat as Portland. They did some moves, and it's mostly on the margins.
And even the moves that were done, this isn't excusing the Blazers, because I'm going to go to the press conference and I've got a handful of questions that I've got ready for Joe Cronin, because I've said that I think that they should make a move here. But as I look back at the deadline so far and the intel that I've gotten, nothing has come across that I was like, oh, they definitely should have been in on that. How'd they drop that? How did they not put that together? And I'll find out more over the next couple days about things that were talked about and see if anything pops up that was like, brother, how did you fumble that? Kind of a situation. That just hasn't been the case. Is, being put out there as far as like what's, there you go. Now that the trade deadline's over, it's not the Blazers. The Atlanta Hawks are trying to push Trey Young out of town, which is nothing new. But they've gone public with it. Chris Haynes is doing that on NBA TV right now, talking about the future with the Atlanta Hawks becoming murky. It's Jalen Johnson's team now.
Oh, Russ, we're gonna have to be on high alert for that audio. I want to get that from Haynes. Once that comes out, because that is pretty earth-shattering, especially when you see the Trey Young post about the All-Star game, all that stuff, and all of the rumblings that have been out there. Look, the trade deadline did fall flat for Blazer fans. I know we just want moves and you want to be in on the action and all that stuff. And the reality of it is that, we won't know what was offered, what was on the table, what those conversations were, maybe ever, but we won't know them for another couple days, months.
Some stuff will leak out.
It'll come down the road.
Hey, this is the things they tried to get done. This is what, and you hear that all the time, and it's like, okay, well, that makes sense.
When did the Denny Avdia trade discussion start?
At the deadline
last year.
Yeah.
And it happened draft day.
I did the like a mailbag for Jack Ramsey's last night, and I started thinking about it. This feels like a front office that, like Orlando, like Milwaukee typically is operated, although there's some pressure on what they've done here. It's like, I don't know if they covered themselves with glory here, trading for Kevin Porter Jr. there at the end. Nasty. But I get it. You're trying to win, so you maybe push some stuff to the side. But
smiles and glory holes.
Yeah, that. But I think that they're a team that just doesn't, or a front office that doesn't really like doing stuff at the deadline. I think they like to have the long run up to the offseason, and I think they like to have the draft and free agency all right there. It's not an excuse. I just thinking about how they operate, I think that's kind of how, like, they very clearly operate slower than other front offices. They are not reactive in that sense. And I don't know, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's just something that I've been thinking about, is that are they a team that prefers to operate in the summer as opposed to deadlines?
Yeah, obviously they do, because they're not doing a whole heck of a lot. I mean, the CJ McCollum one was a deadline move.
It was a couple weeks before, but that was all of that stuff I kind of look at as like the stripping down of what that was.
But there's also, I think the biggest fear that Blazer fans have in this is that the 9 of their last 10 games, right? 5 wins in a row. I think you and I both agree on this. what has happened in the recent Blazer stretch of games where they are playing actually really good basketball, that has not changed their outlook
I don't think
on
it's changed it one bit.
the deadline or what they see this franchise as moving forward. Because the reality is this is a small span of games.
It's 10 games.
It is a really damn good run of games.
And it's fun, but you don't make decisions based on this.
And it does not appear that is what is the case with the Portland Trailblazers. They still know stars win in the league. If you want to get over the hump, you need to have a star, and they have to get to that point right now. But you don't want to be stuck in the situation where, you have these deals that were seen as good and movable and assets that could be moved, and then nothing ever comes of them, right? Robert Williams has got 2 years left. Matisse Thybulle has got 1 year in a player option. Okay, after this year, he's got a player option for next year. That was one that I feel like people thought might be moved, right?
No, and that's the thing is
that because you have the chance of that's the guy. If you're talking the vets, that's the guy that could leave this offseason and you get nothing out of him.
What, you mean next season?
Yeah, well, he's got a player option for next year.
He's not. Nothing out of that.
Well, I'm just
yeah, sure.
I mean, I don't know.
I'd be pretty surprised.
It's $11.5 million.
I'd be pretty surprised with his medical history.
Yeah, but if you get talk about medical history, Lonzo Ball just got 2 years, $20 million. So if his agent is working a deal where it's like, hey, bro,
look, you want to talk about deals that surprise people?
We could get 2 for 20, or you got one more year at 11. Like that Lonzo Ball deal, but it happened.
I bet you that 2 for 20. Well, I mean they can tack one on, but the Lonzo Ball deal had a lot of people in the NBA going, what the hell is happening here?
Well, yeah, but I mean, tell me a team won't do the what the hell is happening?
Yeah, it's just like they thought. A lot of people text me like, "Is this a sign and trade? Have you heard anything?" I'm just like, I mean, he's playing better and he looks mildly healthy.
Yeah,
but he had a surgery that has worked for like 1 out of 100 people.
Yeah,
like I hope it works for him, but I'm a little surprised they gave him. I would imagine it's a Zach Collins-like deal that the Spurs gave Collins that was, air quotes, $21 million, but had almost no guarantees and a ton of outs.
So here's where the Blazers stand with their contracts, right? DeAndre Ayton has one more year left on his deal at $35 million. So it'll be an expiring deal next year. Expiring deals, more attractive. Also on an expiring deal for next year is Anthony Simons, right? Where he's got the $27 million for next year expiring. Robert Williams, $13.2 million next year. That is an expiring deal. And then Matisse Thybulle has a player option for next year, and then will be an unrestricted free agent. Jeremy Grant has got $32 million next year, 34, and then a player option for 36. He ain't going off of that one. That and Jeremy Grant seems like that's been a name that's been floated out there for a really long time.
Yeah, and I think if you look at what guys went for, it was a lot of, as far as those guys, it was all guys like being shorted. Kyle Kuzma was given up for Chris Middleton, the corpse of Chris Middleton. The Cavs sent a couple of seconds and some filler for DeAndre Hunter. And so the Blazers are sitting there going, if the price is this low, why will we sell now? Because if you're at the floor, what does making a deal at the summer of it being one less second-round pick, how much does that really hurt if there's an opportunity that somehow it recoups value? To me, it's a sunk cost at this point in time.
Well, and look, Kyle Kuzma also went, it's the corpse of Chris Middleton, but this is kind of where Blazer fans are like, A.J. Johnson, right? You're betting on that, and we talked about that yesterday. Who was a first-round pick this past year. It is what it is, but it's not like that is an earth-shattering one as well. But they saw it as Chris Middleton, obviously depreciating asset. Kyle Kuzma wasn't getting them anywhere.
No,
and they have what? They're on a 3-game winning streak.
The
aren't they?
insane thing is going full reminder here. The Dallas Mavericks and Nico Harrison. Boy, this looks significantly worse in hindsight. Remember, we mentioned this last week. Kyle Kuzma was almost a Dallas Maverick last year.
Yeah.
He had he didn't have a no trade clause, but he had some say in where he was going to go. and he turned down going to the Dallas Mavericks. Then Dallas Mavericks were going to give up 2 first-round picks for Kyle Kuzma last year.
Yikes, dog.
Woof.
Yeah.
Woof.
Oh, man. All right. Well, let's get to it. This has been our starting point. Let's get to the moves that were made at the deadline, because holy guacamole, man. There were some big names that have moved in this trade deadline. I can't remember a trade deadline as active as this with so many big names moving. And it's the marquee names are Luka and AD. That happened early. Yesterday, we saw Kevin Love finding out on the bench Jimmy Butler was traded to Golden State. Danny and Dusty on the Fan. All right, the Portland Trailblazers silent at the trade deadline. I know that bothers a lot of Blazer fans, but it is what it is right now. Like, it feels.
I don't
like,
know why people are surprised. I genuinely don't.
Well, Because it is because everything has been framed as there are movable assets. They're going to be aggressive. And like that, I think it was, people will still go back to Joe Cronin when he was hired, right? He said, we are going to be aggressive. And that was kind of going to be one of the trademarks and the hallmarks of the organization. And I think why they are surprised is because it was framed league-wide as not a lot of movement's going to happen, and then the dam broke, and holy smokes, everybody was moved. I think that's why people are surprised, is because when you have as much movement across the league as there was, and your team is on the sidelines, fans get upset about that.
Okay, find me the move.
Well, and this is the thing.
No. That's not the thing.
That is the thing. That's not our job.
It's not, and that's what fans get frustrated with, though, is that they're like, well, everybody else found a way. Why is our team the one on the sidelines? That's how fans work.
Do you want to be the fans that got nothing for your guys? Because they can do that.
Yeah,
they can do that. And if you're one of those, fine, go be that person. Go run your face into a wall and just say screw it, all for the sense of throwing young guys on the floor and getting 4 more extra minutes that don't matter for development.
Right, but I feel like that's how a lot of the Blazer fans feel, is that they're already running their face into the wall right now. That's how they feel. Do I agree with that? Not necessarily, because we have seen legitimate growth and development, and that's something that, if you are actually watching this team play basketball, it's undeniable. You are seeing growth and development. In a large part of that is because of the veterans that are on the floor with the young guys, bringing them along and making it easier for them to have situationally times where they can thrive and just finding their way. Like, that is undeniable when you watch this team from where they were at the beginning of the year to where they are right now.
Just where they are for the beginning of the month.
Sure. But I also understand fans are sitting there and saying, when is it going to be our turn? Right? And you're saying, trade a guy for nothing, but we've seen a lot of teams and operate on the margins and still collect some assets, right? And I think that they would be okay with that as well, right?
No, they wouldn't. I saw how people thought about the McCollum trades and the Covington and Powell trades, and I've seen people bring up Norman Powell now at 31 years old and how he should still be a Portland Trailblazer.
No, he
and the revisionist BS that comes out of all of it. So it's just like, no, they wouldn't. But you say that, but the second that they sell low, it's the worst front office. They're dumb as hell. This, that, and the other. And so it's like, there's no
welcome to fandom.
Well, and that's why I'm sitting here being rational in all of this, of like why they wouldn't make a move and just to make a move. And for all the people who are like, there are people on the text line, why it matters to free up playing time. My God, have you watched basketball for the last 3 freaking years? You freaking caveman. Look at what has happened post-trade deadline for this franchise.
Yeah.
There's been no shortage of minutes available.
Okay.
Like, if that's an actual issue that the Blazers are concerned with, there's a very simple way to do that we've seen them do for 3 years.
Agreed.
So it's like,
agreed.
It's like, why is that even, like, just say you don't like Joe Cronin.
Okay.
I can at least get behind that. Like, I get that. Like, he doesn't do what I want him to do.
Well,
okay.
I think it's more than just Joe Cronin, Danny. This is well over a decade that Blazer fans have gone through this.
But that's the thing, is you cannot put the sins of the past on the sins of the current front office.
Fans do.
Then you're stupid.
But
it's that simple.
It's the constant feeling of Lucy ripping away the football from Charlie Brown.
And here's the other thing that kind of builds that up is we have heard about tradable assets. We've heard about movable contracts. Mm-hmm. We've talked about,
how they speak.
Hold on, how they have exactly. So when the GM speak comes up at a trade deadline,
everybody's going to say that about all their assets.
Where there's inaction, of course there's going to be heat from the fans, right? I think that when we work in the media, you especially with how close you are to covering the Blazers on a nightly basis, in a daily basis, right? You get the granular of it.
Yeah.
Right? But fans are sitting there be like, well, okay, we've talked about how these contracts are staggered, how there's guys that have contracts that don't exist in the NBA, and how those are going to be attractive to other teams. Why aren't they being moved? And that, I think, is a legitimate question, because that has been the framing of where the Blazers are working towards. And I don't think that that is unfair. I think, as I said in the first segment, like the worst thing that and something that I hate is, well, the Blazers should have done this. Well, you don't know. The deal would have been so drastically different for, like, if you throw Robert Williams in for the Mark Williams deal, because money has to match, all of that stuff. It would have looked dramatically different. Okay? And I hate they should have just done this. Well, I also...
There's another side to it.
I also hate what should they have done? It's like, well, as Russ said, that's not our job, right? But what we have been told, and whether it's by the media or the organization, is that this roster was set up to be movable.
Okay. And what did they do?
And there's nothing.
And what did they do at the summer?
They moved Malcolm Brogdon for Denny Avdia.
Okay.
Yep.
At the moves that they made.
I think that is a great point of what you said in the last segment, too. This is a long-term off-season front office, not an in-season.
And that's not something I've thought for a long time. Somebody asked a question leading into the show last night, and I was like, the more I look at it, the more I think that's the case. I think they're a long-tailed front office. Orlando is very, very, very similar. If you go look at the Magic, and they didn't make any trades. And we all know they desperately need scoring help. But they're just not a team or a front office that makes those moves during the season. And this is the same front office that built the team around Giannis that won a title.
Yeah.
Like that. So it's like, I don't know if it's the right way. I don't. But the moves they made, based on the moves they didn't make that I have heard about, I think they're up there like Shohei Ohtani for the most part. And I know that's going to make people go sideways, but the stuff that they have passed on, absolutely, had they had made those moves, they would be in a hellacious spot.
Yeah.
And fans would be losing their minds. So that's, if you wonder why I give them the benefit of the doubt, it's because of that.
Yeah. Well, when does the benefit of the doubt run out?
This summer.
Yeah. And look, I give a lot of benefits of the doubt, but remember this, I was saying this this last offseason, where it was like, all right, look, no, the deadline was, that's where everybody was like, hey, the deadline, they're going to be positioned to be active. And I was like, if that happens and we sit by, like, yeah, it's going to be a little bit frustrating.
Making the Avdia deal was, for me, was like, all right.
Yeah, that was
like, I don't think people understand how good of a deal that was.
Well, and to the point that you made, that no matter what deal they make, fans are going to be upset. Like, we had like 4 straight shows during the summer of having to convince people that, no, it was a good deal. And then we had to go through the beginning of this year as everybody was trying to find their role, find their rhythm, find their part. It became, no, you can see it. There's flashes of it. I think everybody now is seeing what Denny Avdia is. And he's a really damn good player.
Yes.
And that trade was a really damn good trade. And that should be recognized and it should be acknowledged. However, I do understand the fan frustration. And when you go and as I said before, when it's so granular at the level that you hear things and you hear things every single day, I understand how you're frustrated too.
Look, if the Blazers passed on making a move, and somebody on the text line was like, we've heard about Joe Cronin pushing all in. That was around Damian Lillard. If you're not pushing all in on this, like,
well, I know, but
guys,
it was one of the things that, I want to get I don't want to do a disservice to him, but it was something along the lines of, like, as a general manager, he was going to be aggressive.
Yes, 100%.
Like, as in that the pushing all in, that was about
number one. He should not have said it. You don't say that publicly because it does, and they learned that can make leverage a complete pain. Number two, they made big overtures. Just didn't come together.
In that, I think it's not necessarily just a Joe Cronin thing.
No.
It's organizationally. Like there's a lack of faith that ownership is going to hold the front office accountable, and from there it's that trickle down of, all right, what is going to happen? Because we all know this, the distrust that Blazer fans have with Vulcan,
Sure.
Jody Allen,
Yeah.
and Burt Cold, because Paul Allen was a guy who believed, he loved, and he would do anything for this team to be relevant. In a rebuild is quite literally tearing it down to irrelevancy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's foreign territory for a Blazer fan base that already has their questions about ownership, because we were all signaled too that this team was going to have to be sold at some point, and a lot of fans already want that.
Yeah, no, I know that's
Yeah.
to go full Neil O'Shea. It's a panacea
Fixing all the problems.
for fixing all the problems, right?
All right.
Joe. I know everybody wants to hang Jody out as the scarecrow. That if you just get rid of that, the crops will grow and everything will be great and everything will be wonderful and it'll be fantastic. And it's like that's not how this works, guys.
Yeah.
Look, do I want to be blunt? Do I want them to sell the team? Yes. Do I think it is the thing that is going to change the entire fortune of the franchise immediately on its head? And oh my God, it would just be a unified front office and everything will go for it. No, because I look around the NBA and I look at ownership and I go, wow, that's a team with real, like the Lakers, terrible ownership. And yet
I do think though that it would solidify a belief in the direction, because the ownership group would say, all right, this is the direction that we're going to go.
Or you
and
could
it's
get
gonna
the
be committed
Adelson
to it.
family who take and rip your star out from underneath you, sell him for peanuts,
No
and
doubt.
position the franchise to be just irrelevant until a casino is built.
But I think,
But hey, you'd be unified.
But here's the deal, is that where's the ship going now?
Nowhere, because they don't have.
But at least
the owner doesn't change who they draft
At
or where
least
they
it-
fall in the lottery odds.
But it does, because you have a direction of where it's going to be in a long term, right? Like you're right. Like it could be a Maverick situation where a horrible owner comes in.
Honestly, if I had
pulls
to
it out.
bet, if I had to bet whoever the next owner of the Blazer is, they're going to screw it up.
But that would be, I think that right now fans, they hate, and you always said this about Neil, pick a damn direction, right? The organization as a whole, it doesn't have
I
the
think
direction,
I think they have picked a direction,
which is
waiting until they get a star.
in that
They're not investing in, like, they're not just going to give away players just to give away players. They're not going to, eject on their young guys because they have time. And you can say, well, I don't care about them and I'm not going to watch them. Then fine. But this is like the second you traded Damian Lillard, the second you did that, you gave up everything as far as like having relevancy. And that was going to be a part of it. And it wasn't going to change until you got the next guy.
Mm-hmm. And right now, like, again, it's a 10-game stretch, but taking a look at the landscape and how far they are away from, statistically speaking, being viable in the lotteries, you're not going to get a star unless you trade for him.
Or,
right.
Which is something I think that they would consider if they went down that path.
And would that be worth, right, giving up a lot to get a star? And like, look, again, this is the thing I hate is, you could have done this, you should have done this. Yeah, well, we don't know what was ever available, but it just feels like they're stuck in neutral right now. And look, this could be everything that leading up to this deadline. It could lead to a big move that happens in the offseason, very similar to the Denny Avdia trade, right? Hopefully, maybe on a grander scale than even Denny Avdia, who's been a great player for the Blazers. These conversations could have started, but we don't know, and nobody likes being in the unknown. That's why
you want it now because it's
that's
the
why
tangible thing,
and that's why it's the ownership is in the same boat. Is like, telling me that it may happen in the future. I don't like that. I don't, especially when people get invested so much emotionally to your franchise, and especially when it's the big one we have here in Portland. We only have one of the major four sports. in Portland, and it's the Portland Trailblazers. People care
And
a
look,
whole hell of a lot about it.
And we'll have time later this afternoon to question Joe Cronin about stuff, and that's exactly what we're going to do.
Yeah, when's that press conference?
I believe it's going to be at 4:30 or 4:45. It'll be before Chauncey.
Okay.
His pregame availability.
All right. Are you done yelling today?
Maybe.
Okay. Russ turning on his mic just to cackle was great. I love it.
I mean, it's like.
All right. Do we want?
We've been talking about this for a month.
Yeah.
I said for a month that they're not going to do anything because of where things are, and it's just like.
Let's get Rust an update. Please text us at the Vancouver Ford text line 503-864-6326. Today is a kind of day where we want to get to fan feedback and how they feel too. Text us on the Vancouver Ford text line. Use the YouTube chat. What's up, party people? You party animals on YouTube. We'll get to a lot of that, but first is Rust with SportsCenter.
It's a Super Week edition of Danny and Dusty.
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the NBA trade deadline has indeed passed. The biggest move of the last 24 hours, Jimmy Butler headed to the Warriors, Kyle Anderson to the Raptors, Andrew Wiggins and PJ Tucker to the Heat. Dennis Schroeder, a busy 24 hours him, from the Warriors to the Heat, then to the Jazz, who are now sending him to the Pistons. KJ Martin, Josh Richardson, and a second-round pick from the Pistons to the Jazz. The Lakers are acquiring center Mark Williams from Charlotte for Dalton Knecht, Cam Reddish, an unprotected first-round pick and a pick swap. The Suns sending Yusuf Nurkic and a first-rounder to the Hornets for Cody Martin, Vasilije Micic, and a second-round pick. The Hawks trading forward DeAndre Hunter to the Cavaliers for Karis LeVert, George Niang, 3 second-round picks and 2 pick swaps. The Clippers sending Terrence Mann and Bones Highland to the Hawks for Bogdan Bogdanovic and 3 second-round picks. And the Grizzlies trading Marcus Smart to the Wizards in a multi-team trade that will send 2 second-round picks to Memphis. No trade news on the Trailblazers front. They host the Kings tonight. 7 o'clock tip on K2 2.2 on your antenna, Xfinity Channel 302. Matisse Thybulle still out for Sacramento. The newly acquired Jonas Valanciunas is a game-time decision. Blazers have won 9 of their last 10 and are 1-point favorites. And Thunder forward center Chet Holmgren expected to return Friday against the Raptors. He's missed the last 39 games with a fractured pelvis. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Fan is live on YouTube and Twitch. And now, Window Nation brings you on-demand videos. Watch Window Nation's window into 1080 The Fan.
503-864-6326. That's a Vancouver Ford text line. Your dollar goes further at Vancouver Ford. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit them online at vancouverford.com. Okay, there was a text that I want to get to here really quick, and then we got to take a break because we went way over, and then we'll get to a lot of your feedback. But this text says, if we're waiting until we get a star, we need to try to get a star. And that goes to like the way a lot of Blazer fans are thinking is like just lean full into the skid and into the tank and lose, right? It should be noted how wildly different the lottery odds are now from when they were, during the
just as
process Sixers.
As late as 2019.
Right?
It's down to 14%.
So the current odds are the top 3 teams all have a 14% chance. So the 3 worst records in the NBA have a 14% chance. The 4th worst team has a 12.5% chance to win the lottery, then 10.5, 9.5, 7.5, 6.5, 4.5, 3. Okay, and so on and so forth. It goes all the way down to the 14th team, the last team that didn't make the playoffs, has a 0.5% chance. Previously, it was the worst team in the NBA had a 25% chance to win the lottery.
And was 64% on top 3.
And so,
which is like, that's bonkers.
It's nuts.
Yeah, and the math there adds up.
So that was
hell,
worthwhile.
even at number 2, you have a 20% chance.
It went from 25 to 20, and then it kind of trickled slowly down to where you got to 0.5%, just like we have currently. But that is where the odds are so drastically different, okay? In that the bottoming out. Now, if you're saying have one of the 3 worst records, yeah, that makes sense, sure. The Blazers are in a position, though, right now to where they've won so many games that what's the best that you think they can get to right now? 6th?
What, odds?
Yeah. 6th best odds. That would be that is the bottom just falls out, right? That means that they would have 90 chances to win. The top 3 seeds each have 140. Okay. That means the Blazers would have a 9% chance. 9% chance to win.
Which isn't that far away in the grand scheme of things, but when the cap is 14, it is.
The reality, though, is that the Blazers are probably hanging around 6% chances, being like the 8th worst record in the NBA with the way they're playing. You said that you'd worry when we got to 22 wins. Well, here we are at 22 wins. It's worry time.
They've blown past the get in the top 5 level.
It's worry warts here. And I don't blame Blazer fans for feeling this way. Yeah. I mean,
for all of you can't have both. You can't have the young guys developing alongside the veterans. But no, they would not develop alongside the veterans if you just threw them out there. Watch the Washington Wizards. Watch how much they suck. There's a reason they suck. It's because they're young and they don't have competent guys out there alongside them. And that's not just the Wizards. Look at every tanking team ever in the history of the league. So, if you want those losses, you get to watch your young guys get punched in the face and not develop. It's not going to happen.
Are we seeing development in Utah?
No. God, no.
Yeah.
They're not playing their vets.
Yeah. They have
for all of the
they have Colin Sexton, John Collins, Lauri Markkanen, Walker Kessler.
And they've shut Walker's not a vet.
Well, I mean, he's a good player.
He's a good
really
player.
Solid player.
Yeah. No, really
Building
solid
player. Yeah. Is he in his second year?
Third year.
Yeah.
But I mean, they effectively shut Collins down because they were looking to trade him. But again, this is also to my point earlier about the Jazz. When the Jazz were looking at trying to developing guys over the last couple of years, the GM that everybody loves, Danny Ainge, was playing those young guys alongside veterans. They decided to clear the deck, and really clear the deck, and get egregious. But they're not prioritizing their young guys. It's not what's happening. So you have to pick. Like, that's the thing, is you don't get to do both. And this whole idea of like just minutes equaling development, it is a myth. Good minutes equal development.
And I think that if there was more faith in from ownership down organizationally, I think that fans would be willing to go through the way that Utah is doing it. Because what do they have faith in? They have faith in their new owner, who the worst thing that he's done is that redesign. And he said, "My bad. We're getting away from neon yellow.
I wanted a color that looked good. I'm not even kidding. That happened. That neon yellow on the black polo happened because it looked good on a black polo.
Yeah.
He wanted to have a black alternate polo that he could wear.
So he said, "My bad." He got Danny Ainge, which you could say what you want about Danny. Uncle Danny can make some moves and he can build a damn roster.
I mean, he stripped this thing down and again traded away some stars and got real capital.
They have belief.
Now what do they do with it? Because what happens if this Washington Wizards team ends up 5th? What happens if this...
Well, there's a very real possibility the Utah Jazz could miss out on not just Cooper Flagg, but Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey and whomever.
And that's the thing is, like, then what did you do in that season? You didn't develop your young guys.
But what does developing your young guys get you if you don't have the star?
Well, do you believe in Shaden Sharp and Scoot Henderson and Danny Avdia and Tumani Kamara, or don't you?
Well, but you're going to be stuck.
Sure. Okay. Then
if you never get the star, you're stuck.
I get it. You have to draft where you can draft and hope and pray. That's the thing is, everybody wants this to be
luck.
They want to be binary, man. Like, it's if you want to really suck and really tank and be just god awful, then realize it's not going to be helpful to those guys because now you're telling those guys they don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
You don't matter. What matters is us getting lottery balls. And if you don't think that those 20 and 21-year-olds are going to check the bleep out and be out on your organization, you are out of your freaking mind.
Okay. 503-864-6326. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
We're down.
Hey, there's still time to enter the daily Slam Dunk in Vegas contest. Entering's easy. Download the free Odyssey app. Listen to 1080 The Fan or any of the participating stations each day for a minimum of 1 hour for your daily entry right after you log in there. The winner of this national contest receives travel for 4. That's winner plus 3 of your bros or broettes and a 5-night hotel stay at the Circa Resort and Casino, Las Vegas's premium sports viewing destination and home of the biggest March Hoops party at the Stadium Swim, plus 5 Gs for each of you to fund the ultimate viewing experience for the first 2 rounds of the college basketball championships. Come back each day, listen for another hour, add another chance to win. For more info, go to 1080thefan.com. We have got a ton of feedback, and I want to get to as many of these texts as I can. Because I feel like we're kind of all over the place in Rip City. Not overwhelmingly pleased organizationally with what happened at the trade deadline, but it is what it is. And now people are freaking out.
Freaking out, man.
We'll get to your feedback and maybe Danny yells a little bit more.
Maybe.
All right, Danny Dusty on the Fan.
Hey, I've got a question for you. Are your old windows costing you money on your energy bills?
George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
KFXX, KWJJ, HD2, Portland, an Odyssey Sports Station. Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust with your Sports Center update. First on The Fan, the NBA trade deadline has passed. The biggest move of the last 24 hours, Jimmy Butler headed to the Warriors. Kyle Anderson moves to the Raptors. Andrew Wiggins, PJ Tucker to the Heat, and Dennis Schroeder. He has had a busy 24 hours from the Warriors to the Heat, then to the Jazz, who are now sending him to the Pistons. Meanwhile, KJ Martin, Josh Richardson, and a second-round pick move from the Pistons to the Jazz to complete this trade. Lakers acquiring center Mark Williams from Charlotte for Dalton Knecht, Cam Reddish, an unprotected first-round pick, and a pick swap. The Suns trading Yusuf Nurkic and a first-rounder to the Hornets for Cody Martin, Vasilije Micic, and a second-round pick. The Hawks trading forward DeAndre Hunter to the Cavaliers for Karis LeVert, George Niang, 3 second-rounders, and 2 pick swaps. The Clippers trading Terrence Mann and Bones Highland to the Hawks for Bogdan Bogdanovic and 3 second-round picks. And the Grizzlies trading Marcus Smart to the Wizards in a multi-team trade that'll send 2 second-round picks back to Memphis. No moves for the Trailblazers today. They host the Kings this evening, 7 o'clock tip on K2 2.2 on your antenna or Xfinity Channel 302. Matisse Thybulle still out. And then for Sacramento, the newly acquired Jonas Valanciunas, a game-time decision. The Blazers have won 9 of their last 10 and are 1-point favorites. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Your favorite fan shows are on YouTube. Mash the subscribe button and like us for live streaming video and 1080 The Fan on demand. We're getting you ready for pro football's ultimate matchup.
Give us a taste.
Mac has a noodle arm.
Ooh, buddy.
This is a Super Week edition of Danny and Dusty.
Injured? Don't trust just anyone to something so personal. Call George McCoy at Warren Allen. Online at warrenallen.com.
Danny and Dusty on 1080
I got hit in the head with the tortilla. Yikes!
The Fan.
Hour number 2, Danny and Dusty with you on this Thursday afternoon. Thanks for being a part of our day, letting us be a part of yours, whether it's on 1080 AM, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, twitch.tv/1080 AM The Fan, or youtube.com/1080 AM The Fan. Party on, party people. All right, we got a big first hour. Boy, that really went fast.
It does.
That escalated quickly. We have a lot of feedback coming in as it pertains to the hometown team, the Portland Trailblazers, and the inaction at the trade deadline. Okay? So, I want to get to as much of Blazer fan feedback as we can here. This text says, I'm a patient fan and do not overreact to no trades if, quote, there weren't any good offers is the reason. What worries me is that Joe Cronin's inactivity has often been justified by, quote, we don't like the deals available. The more he says it, the less I'm inclined to believe him. And the more I think he either overvalues his talent or is too cautious with the deals on the table.
Sure, I think you can have that feeling.
Yeah.
But unless you kind of know the deals, you're projecting something. Look, I'm not going to get into them. But there are deals that were massive that I know of, sourced, nailed down to the bones, that they did not take. And I am so glad they did not do it. As a fan, you should be thrilled that they did not proceed on those transactions. So I know that they're taking and making calls on big swings.
Yeah.
And that they have in the past, and they have with talks of like going after guys. Denny is not in the same vein, but did anybody know that Denny Avdia was available?
No, but I don't think that was a big swing, right?
I think anytime you're dealing 2 first-round picks for a guy, that is a big swing.
Yeah, but one of those was your second first-round pick that
I'm not talking.
Both of them were. None of them were their own.
No, but again, that's not nothing. And again,
No.
I have said specifically that pick was not as valuable as your typical first-round pick. But
look, Denny Avdia better than Bob Carrington.
Yeah, not only that, like the number of people that I've talked to after that transaction that were followed up with some version of like, man, if we would have known, like we would have. So very clearly, they're making calls on the guys that they target.
Yeah, but they are being very cautious, and part of a rebuild to land a star eventually is you've got to take some big swings though too, right? And I think that.
In that vein is trading Jeremy Grant for different money in second round picks any semblance of a big swing.
What do you mean by different money? Like I like
breaking it down into smaller contracts or a different version of bad money.
Yeah.
If you think Jeremy is, if you're somebody who thinks that Jeremy's value is completely cheeks, okay, And I'm not saying you. I'm just saying
Yeah.
if you're they just need to do it or whatever.
No,
okay.
I feel like it'll be hard to move 32, 34, $36 million. Yeah.
Okay, well-
I do. I don't think that his value is cheeks though, but
But here's what I'm saying. If you're somebody, if you're a Blazers fan who says you just need to do it because you're the guy on the text line who's screaming about minutes, which, God, that's just insane. But if you're that person, or if you're somebody who thinks like that, you're going to take back bad money in return, and you're not going to get draft capital that's meaningful. So what the hell kind of swing is it?
right. But if you get it, so in this situation, Jeremy Grant is under contract through 2027 with that player option, right?
Yeah.
To go 27-28. He's going to take that because it's at $36 million. It's a lot of money.
I mean, in that cap structure, it might not be, but still a lot of money.
So Jeremy Grant, though, that's going to be a more difficult contract to move just with CBA is built right now. And if you're going to send him to a team that obviously if you're trading for him, you would think that you were in a window to win, right? That makes it a little bit more difficult. But if you do the deal where maybe you get a couple of expiring deals, right, more attractive, and you break those up, can't you continue that flip? And that's kind of the risk that you're taking, though. But that is a risk that in order to get this team to a position where they can land a star, right? Jeremy Grant is a good player. And Jeremy Grant's play has won the Blazers games, and so has Anthony Simons' play, who's won Blazers games. DeAndre Ayton, obviously, 25-20 the other night in an overtime win against the Phoenix Suns. He is playing well enough to win you basketball games that make those odds further and further away from where you want to be. You're not going to get a star in free agency in Portland, Oregon. So it's going to be 1, by trade, or 2, via the draft. And the Blazers right now are not positioning themselves to win either one of those, right?
Sure.
I think that is where the frustration is.
And I think that the pushback I'd have is you got development out of guys. You got the thing that you wanted to get, that you set out this year that was important to you. And if you didn't, and you went down a path, like, again, we can go back. We can take this winning streak out of this. You look at that, I'll keep going back to it, that 5 wins that they got that they didn't. It was like, where the hell did these come from? Like, if you played those 5 games 100 more times, at best they probably go 1-4, just on a normal occasion. And if you put them in that position, do they ever actually get out of what they were? Because they won 9 of the last 10. Does this run happen if they're just so far in the tank out of the gate that you're just like they were what, 22 wins, so they were at the 13 wins. Let's run it back. They were at 10 or 11 wins, in late December, early January, and you're just like, oh, I mean, you're only a couple games ahead of the Wizards and the Jazz. Like, you're in that spot, and then you just turn everything off. And you go down that stretch, and it's just miserable from January until April.
Yeah, I think that is what fans brace themselves for, though, in tanking. And like we have a texter says, the Spurs didn't seem to be too worried when they were tanking for Wemby to be about player development.
Yeah, that's exactly my point. There's not a player on that team that they're concerned about with going forward other than De'Aaron Fox.
But they have the star.
Yeah.
They have the star.
Okay.
And like
but that's the thing is this sure, Dusty, absolutely. I'm with you.
Yeah.
This city will not, and will never be with you on that. They say they will. They are not willing to put up with any kind of actual tank.
But that's the thing though, is that's what gets you the star. And look, I would be willing
they want to love Scoot. They want to love Shaden. They want to love Tu. They want to love Denny. Everyone's a Blazers legend. That's what this city is about. They are not an all-or-nothing city.
I think that to the point, we're getting so many texts right now of, and you said this, that they don't just play the young guys. Give them minutes. Who cares about development? Right? Like, that's just run them out there. That's what the Spurs did. And there's a large swath of Blazer fans.
They played Jeremy Sohan at point guard.
Yeah, there's a large swath of Blazer fans that do agree with that. And you're saying that the city doesn't. I think there's a lot of them that do.
Oh, no, they don't.
I really do.
Brother,
I know, but
I talk to them every night. No, they don't.
The largest, you know this too, the most vocal minority.
Yeah.
The most vocal is the
what it is.
minority.
I'm talking about
who cares?
No. I'm talking about the greater fan base. They don't. It is not an all or nothing sum game. It is not.
I feel
the Blazers organization, like they've done polls, they've done the research. Like, it's not that this fan base is different than most fan bases in sports. It is 100% true, and you could argue until you're blue in the face on the Texans, guys. I've seen the stuff that goes behind.
Guess what? It's for we all know that that's how you are going to fix this. So who cares what those people think? I mean,
they're your consumers.
Honest. No, but I'm being honest.
That's exactly the people you have to think about and cater to.
But you know what? You get that star, they're going to come back and they're going to be happy. Like that's the reality.
They turned away for 5 years, Dusty.
Because of the Jailblazers?
Yes.
Yeah, you win and you get the star, they'll come back.
They didn't win though. They came back the second they got LaMarcus and Brandon.
Okay. But you know what?
They definitely weren't winning.
Where were those guys drafted? Both of those guys were top 7 picks in the NBA draft.
2 and 6, yeah.
2 and 6. Mm-hmm. And then they started winning. Like, they did. They came back because they were like, hey, guess what?
And they just drafted a guy number 3, didn't they?
We finally got this. Who's not that guy?
Okay, but
I mean, we all know it. We saw Brandon Roy. We saw Brandon Roy, and we said, that guy's different.
But this fan base is absolutely convinced he is.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that people think he is.
Oh, go to commercial break. Go hop on Reddit. Go to Blazers Edge. Go check the comments.
Yeah, we a lot of texts are coming in. We'll continue to go down this road. I like this. Danny Dusty on the Fan. All right, 503-864-6326. That is the Vancouver Ford text line. We're talking about the Blazers moving forward. People are fired up. I love it. Scoot, Shea, too, are all great pieces, but they're not cornerstones. That's the problem with this fan base and ownership. We get too enamored with mid-level players and their potential. People seem to miss the point that basketball, unlike most pro sports, you don't get the surprise pop hardly ever. By draft night, a kid's either got it or doesn't. I would say
For the most part,
the
I think
most
that's
part,
true.
yeah.
I mean, there's
There
like
you-
SGA is a guy who,
Steph Curry.
yep, Giannis, like
Yeah, take some of them.
all
take time.
timers can come out of Jokic. You know, it's those are exceptions, not rules. I would agree with that text in general. Like,
Yeah.
you don't usually like the next tier down is like the Jalen Williams,
Yeah.
the J Dubs of the world, like where you're like Chris Middleton,
Yeah.
like those second tier guys, Jimmy Butler, you know, end of the first.
Yeah.
Like there's an example every year, but it's so much. It's just it's rolling bones.
Yeah. I think as we were talking about in that last segment, just like whether the fan base cares or not, that is a massive issue with the organization, though. I mean, we can disagree on whether, like, how much of the fan base is run this thing in the side of the hill, get yourself a star by any means possible, or, hey, do enough to win. If organizationally they are looking at this by saying, well, I mean, who cares if we don't get a star? I think that's a problem.
I don't think they don't care.
That's it. I think then why does it matter what the fan base says on tanking or not in being about it? Because if you're going to lose games, absolutely you are.
Because there's no guarantee that a tank equals star.
But if you get how do you get the star though?
Here, through the draft or through trade.
Okay. And giving yourself the best opportunity via the draft is to lose basketball games. Now, I'm not saying that you
they're
don't.
not going to, nobody, like, look around the league. There is one team, one team, again, I will say one team, the Washington Wizards. And even then, they're so sick of losing that they just took on veterans so they don't set an NBA record for futility.
Yeah.
It is not easy to do.
But we know what they're trying to do.
And there is no guarantee, and they have really nothing that they're just like, yeah, this is it, that they're excited about going
right
forward.
now, the Portland Trailblazers, though, are positioned, and this is, I think, what a lot of fans agree on, is they're positioned to never get a star. Like, in that organizationally, that's a failure.
How are they positioned to never get a star?
Because they're in a position right now. We just talked about this. Probably best odds are going to be the sixth worst record in the NBA, which gives them around an 8% chance to win the lottery, right?
And if
like in that right there, I think that's it.
If you're tying yourself to lottery odds, what is the point?
To get a star eventually, right? Like, but isn't that what San Antonio did?
You can't run a business like that.
Isn't that what San Antonio?
You can't run.
It's professional sports. It's different because when you win, they will come back. We know that. We absolutely 100% tried and true. You win, place is going to be packed. You know it.
Okay.
How do you get to that point? And that's the question that a lot of Blazer fans have. Like, is all right. Well, then how are we going to get there? And look, I'm not saying that this back half of the Blazer season, the bottom could fall out, and they're going to win. They're going to lose plenty of games, but I'm just saying what that frustration is that how do you get the start through the draft here?
And if there was a guarantee that if sucking that bad did it, I'd say yes, go for it. Absolutely, unequivocally, just go be rancid. It's not there.
But this team is not tanking right now.
No,
like
not
they're
right
not.
now.
So they're
not going to pull the plug on the young guys developing, because that's the thing. Is like, again, that's the thing they set out to do this year. We're not going to count wins. We're looking at development.
Yes, they absolutely did say that. But if you develop this team to a point and you don't make any moves at, say, a trade deadline or a big move this offseason, and they do not get that star in the lottery this year, then what you're signaling is this team is going to be good enough to never be in that position to get that star player via the draft.
Or you better hope you draft Luka Doncic and not Trey Young.
Well, in like that right there is like you're going, holy moly. Blazers have gotten some pretty damn good players at number 7, number 6, right? They've gotten really good players.
Damon Brandon.
Those guys did not get them over the hump, though, right? Like, and that's that's the.
I think a lot of that has to do with what happened after that.
That's the spot that you're in. Yeah, well, yeah,
and again, luck.
And then that goes back to the organizationally. What happened after that? Organizationally, at the top, they did not do enough to support the stars that they had, and that right there is why the fan base is like, it's never going to happen. So they're upset about it. Like, I get it. Too.
I don't get that part of it.
Well, Neil O'Shea was a decade.
Okay, that's fine. Is Neil O'Shea in charge?
No, he's not.
Stop.
But
Stop.
ownership
Stop right
at
there.
the top, they allowed.
Paul Allen didn't get it done either.
I know they allowed it to, and that's where the ownership people come into play. Like, and they just want a change, and they want something new.
And it's like, just say
And
that
I
you
get
just
it.
want the change.
Well,
that's
that is
fine.
what they're saying. Literally, that's what they're saying.
They want the change because things aren't getting done the way they want them to get done.
Yeah, and like, I think that we've talked about this several times. Like, it's a fool's game to sit there and be like, you know what, that a new owner is gonna just turn it around and it's gonna be awesome. Like, we know that that's not the case, because you could get a really bad owner too that comes in who doesn't give a rip about this team. And it's a double-edged sword. I just think that, look, fan bases, they're fanatics, they're irrational, and they're gonna be just like what we're seeing here. They're gonna be split. There's gonna be two wildly different directions, and they're gonna be very vocal about it.
Yeah,
it's why we love sports.
No, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's gonna be. I don't understand getting upset about the lottery stuff until the lottery.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, man, those Pistons fans, they got the fear of God in their eyes. After 4 straight lotteries of getting punched in the face, they were just like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
And it's just
you never know.
It's a nasty beast, man.
It is.
It's a nasty
Sucks, dude.
It is a nasty, nasty beast. And you saw what it did to that organization. And look, as good as Detroit is playing now, and they're better, and they make more sense, and they have their star in Cade, tell you what, turn on a Pistons game. They aren't returning. That place is empty.
Okay, but they also they have more options. They've got the Wings, they've got the Lions, they've got the Tigers.
I'm just saying,
this
not
town,
automatic.
In this town, it 100% is. You win, they're coming.
I don't think that's the case in today's society.
I do. With this town, absolutely.
There's just
where else are they going to go?
Because there's a lot of options.
What?
Not I'm talking about just going to the building. I'm just talking about paying attention. Like
that
that is the constant fight today, because
I think they're going to come
because
back.
the audience is different.
All right. Holy smokes. Are we on time? Did I break on time last one, Rust? Okay, good.
We've been
I
off all
honestly,
day.
I thought this was like the top of the hour segment, and we were gonna have to
Yeah,
take.
you scared
like
me there
2
for a
breaks.
second. I'm looking over here. I'm like, well, no.
I
think,
just want to
we're
make
good.
sure we're on
The
time.
way that you looked at the clock there was like, oh God.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Oh,
Okay. Look, we have not. You know what we have done? We have gone an hour and a half on trade deadline day, and we've gotten so wrapped up in the Portland Trailblazers, we haven't talked about a single trade that has happened.
Perfect.
Yeah. I mean,
Do you want to hit those coming out of work
no. Oh man. All right. Well, I'd just like to be the Oklahoma City Thunder right now.
Yes, I would like to be the man running a team that had multiple star players in their prime to trade away to reset with.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier and a lot better to that.
They also did tank, though.
Well, people highlight. Okay.
They did, though.
How many players are left from that team?
That tanked? But who cares? They're the best team in the Western
this
Conference,
is-
40-9.
And they never did what the Wizards did.
Okay.
There's a difference.
They did tank. And we're not saying to be the Wizards.
That's what people are calling for.
No. No.
Yes, they
no,
want-
No,
no,
no.
the-
I've not seen a single person on the text line today, on the YouTube chat today.
I
that
can
have
literally
said,
scroll down and grab it for you.
Be the Wizards.
Go 0-82.
But go 0-80. No, you don't want to do that. But think of teams that have tanked and where they're at now. OKC. Yep.
Yeah. But the thing that
Houston.
the thing that matters the most with OKC is they got Shea.
Right.
That's what matters.
And what did they do to get him?
They traded their superstar.
Okay. Houston. They tanked. They're sitting third in the West right now. They're looking pretty
They traded
good.
their superstar.
And they also reset their front office and ownership.
And they picked what, second or third with Jalen,
Yeah.
and then after that, it's been mid-lottery.
Minnesota Timberwolves. They tanked for a long time. Both intentionally and unintentionally.
Yeah, well, that was, and then they traded everything for, where'd you go, Bear?
The San Antonio Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Detroit Pistons look pretty good.
Yep.
And that was a long time.
And
that
same
they
with the
did that.
Spurs. The Spurs went through for 5 years.
The Cleveland Cavaliers, top team in the West.
East.
Or East, yeah. They did.
They did for 2 years-ish.
Yeah, Blazers are on 4. Seems to be working out. The Orlando Magic did it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Philadelphia 76ers.
I'm not saying
like
tanking,
the list is like.
I'm not saying tanking's bad.
Yeah, it
at
has
all.
worked.
No, it does work. But it also, when you talk about those teams, it's hitting on draft picks.
It's hitting. Yes.
That's the thing. Like,
and
it is the Atlanta Hawks win the lottery.
Yeah.
In a draft that doesn't matter.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though, and this might be like the biggest point to this is why fans should want the tank. Joe Cronin has done a very good job of identifying talent in the draft. He really has. His hand was tied with the Scoot Henderson one, right? But everybody's like, should have taken Amen Thompson. Well, Scoot is playing well now.
And he's also...
But his hand was tied there. Look at where, like, he's done a good job of evaluating the guys.
Look,
and
I really like Amen
Thompson.
Thompson. I just think he and again, I think most people, almost everyone, looked at Amen Thompson and valued him as like his ceiling being the best possible role player on a team.
Yeah.
Where they figured that Scoot Henderson could be the guy who ignites your offense. I already replied to this text, but I have to read it out publicly just because there's this whole idea of this stuff that exists. Thing about OKC is they have competent ownership and management. You have the cheapest and one of the worst owners in professional sports in Oklahoma City. Sam Presti has to operate under the luxury tax line every single year.
He does.
Absolutely. Without fail. It is a terrible. This is an owner that ripped a team away from another after saying he wasn't going to.
Yeah.
You're out of your freaking mind.
But they have an elite general manager.
He does.
Sam Presti is elite.
And, well, that same guy also has given up multiple first-round picks to draft Ousmane Dieng, is giving away James Harden to keep Serge Ibaka.
Yeah.
Like, he is not without fail.
Well,
he's very good. I am not taking that away at all.
Yeah.
But the idea that Oklahoma City's ownership is good, you're falling out of the bird nest.
But something that the Vancouver Forward text line does point out that you said OKC traded their superstar, so did Portland.
Okay.
But they did.
Okay, you're definitely right. Those are two very much the same situations. Paul George in his prime and Damian Lillard under a trade request. If Miami had assets that made sense, Portland does. If they get Bam Adebayo back, congratulations. You did the thing. Mm-hmm. But that wasn't what was on the table. The one team that Paul George wanted to go to that was going to land them Kawhi Leonard.
I understand.
There's
but
a staggering difference.
I understand, but I mean,
There's
Joe
no but.
Cronin and the Blazers did right by Dame and sent him to a contender.
They also took the better deal.
They did right. They did right. But was it potentially the best deal they could have taken?
Yes. For the things that I have heard, it was 100% the best deal on the table.
Yeah. All right. Well,
look, if I would love it if at the time that Dame's trade request came in, that the one destination he wanted to go to was going to land the Blazers a guaranteed superstar and 6 first-round draft picks.
Here it is. To your point earlier, Dirt wants the Blazers to be the Wizards.
Yeah.
That's
No, and I know I know he
you do
stokes
not
the
want
Flames
to be
every day.
You do not want to be the
There's
Wizards.
plenty, and there's people texting it earlier. The difference between you guys and the morning show is so drastic. It's like, yeah, it's because dirt wants to burn it all to the ground, including ownership.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it's not going to be this thing that's again.
I understand. I do understand why people feel that way though. Like I understand.
I
it.
don't, because I look at the other owners around the league and I go, oh, it could be so much worse. It could be so much worse.
Then
And the likelihood is that whoever buys this team, because the amount of money it's going to take to buy teams now,
yeah.
it's not going to go well.
Well,
It
maybe Tom Brady will do it. He's fixing your team.
He doesn't have that kind of money. He'd have to get back to Giselle to get that.
Well, maybe they do. Maybe love finds a way.
I mean, she just
maybe Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney buy it and then pull a Wrexham on us.
There you go. I'm okay with that.
I
mean, if they sell their stake in Wrexham, they might actually have the money for it. As much money as they've made.
There we go.
There we go. Full circle. I like it. All right, coming up next for Worst Day on the Web.
Maybe we just draft Bam instead of Zach Collins. That's a good text.
I mean,
that made me laugh.
You're not wrong. 100%. Look, if we want to come together on things we all agree on, bombing the 2017 draft, we can do that.
Yeah.
But coming up next, this is an odd story. A baby so ugly, a father demands a paternity test, and the results shocking. We'll get to that. But first, here's the Big Kahuna Sports Center update.
That's that Hawaiian burger joint.
It's a super week edition of Danny and Dusty.
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the NBA trade deadline has indeed passed. The biggest move of the last 24 hours, Jimmy Butler headed to the Warriors. Kyle Anderson moves to the Raptors. Andrew Wiggins and PJ Tucker to the Heat. And Dennis Schroeder takes a roundabout way to the Pistons. The Lakers acquiring center Mark Williams from Charlotte for Dalton Connect, Cam Reddish, and an unprotected first-round pick and a pick swap. The Suns trading Yusuf Nurkic and a first-rounder to the Hornets for Cody Martin, Vasilije Micic, and a second-round pick. The Hawks trading forward DeAndre Hunter to the Cavaliers for Karis LeVert, George Niang, 3 second-round picks, and 2 pick swaps. The Clippers sending Terrence Mann and Bones Highland to the Hawks for Bogdan Bogdanovic and 3 second-round picks. And the Grizzlies trading Marcus Smart to the Wizards in a multi-team trade that will send 2 second-round picks to Memphis. In case you haven't been listening today, no moves by the Trailblazers. They host the Kings tonight, 7 o'clock tip on K2 2.2 on your antenna or Xfinity Channel 302. Matisse Thybulle is still out. For Sacramento, the newly acquired Jonas Valanciunas is a game-time decision. The Blazers have won 9 of their last 10 and are 1-point favorites. And Thunder forward center Chet Holmgren expected to return Friday against the Raptors. He's missed the last 39 games with a fractured pelvis. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Hot Corner, now in its new time. Tuesdays at 7 after Isaac and Sue on Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. of Danny and Dusty
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
on 1080 The Fan. It's time for today's worst day on the web with Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Well, that sucks.
Tell me if you've heard this one before. Ugly baby makes dad suspect cheating.
I have. I watched a fair share of Jerry Springer, Jenny Jones, Ricky Lake Show.
You were not the father?
Yeah, Maury Povich. Yeah, I've seen that.
Well,
I have seen on Maury a guy say, that baby's too damn ugly to be mine.
and then oops.
And he's like, you are the father. And then they throw up his baby picture, and it's like, damn, you were an ugly baby, too.
Looks exactly the same. Shout out the family for making sure they got the other ugly baby picture in there.
You don't have to be a cute baby to be a handsome man or beautiful woman. Ugly babies blossom.
Oh, yeah.
Just
Look,
throwing that out there.
I peaked as a baby. I was a cute baby. It was all downhill from there. It is what it is, man. What was the Star Wars prequel movies? The young Anakin looks exactly like me as a kid. It's terrifying.
Okay.
The number of people were like, "Oh my god."
That's the one I've seen.
Yeah, there you go. So that's what I look like as a kid.
All right, nice.
Just all rosy cheeked.
Where did that fork in the road happen?
Yeah, I know. It's, like I said, I fell face first out of the ugly tree at around 6.
I don't know. Maybe the cats in the lawnmower, or the pocket knife in the fireplace, or the eyebrow ring that led to him damn near being electrocuted. Like, I think there's a few of these forks in the road.
The fork has a lot of points. A lot of points.
Yeah.
It looks like a deer rack.
It's more than 4. We got like an 8-point. We got an 8-point fork. We got an octo orc.
Yeah, it may have been a fork that was stuck in a light socket. You
Yeah.
know, it's well, speaking of sticking a fork in a light socket and what that can do to you, back to this. A wild lawsuit in China just proved that some beauty secrets can cost way more than a premium skincare routine.
Oh no.
This woman was indeed the mother, because the baby came out of her, and he was indeed the father. It was just that she had $150,000 worth of plastic surgery done to her to change her from mildly busted to pretty hot.
Like legitimately hot.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
Yeah.
And
so ugly baby kept the genetics.
And so dad didn't know this?
Because mom was a hot. Just thought mom went, me look.
Well, hold on. I don't feel like this relationship is on good footing. If he's like, you know what? No way I could make an ugly baby. No way. I can't be the father of this. You cheated on me. That's his first play. Somebody just needed to show this guy. Remember on Conan when they used to do like the celebrity face meld? Where they'd be like, what would it look like if they had a baby? And it was just usually horrific.
Yeah. Especially like the most attractive, like Angelina Jolie, because her features are so sharp. It was like, oh no.
Yeah. You're like, that didn't work. That didn't work.
Yeah. Speaking of total cat or squirrel moment.
Sure.
You said cats because cat and lawnmower in my head. Anyways, Jolie and her kid were on the red carpet this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Her son is like a carbon copy of her, and I mean that in like the most weird way.
Oh, really?
Son with his mom's cheekbones. It's startling. Startling. It was like, oh my God. Like, you look just like her. It was very hard. Like it was like, what am I looking at here?
I'm not sure if I'm seeing the same one here.
Yeah, I'll find it and show you in the break.
Yeah, because didn't they adopt a whole bunch of kids?
I think so, but this one's definitely the genes are there.
Yeah, I see this
red
now.
carpet.
Yeah, he kind of looks like a mix between Angelina Jolie and Pete Davidson.
Brother, that is spot on. I don't even have to have the picture in front of me, and that's yes.
Brad Pitt's like, wait a minute. What was Pete Davidson doing? I know he bags hots.
Yeah, he does. Speaking of which, he was on one of the late night shows the other day. This is another squirrel moving into a squirrel. It's a squirrelception.
Mm-hmm.
He's having all of his tattoos removed.
Yeah, I saw that. All 200 and something.
Yeah, it turns out all the drugs were not good for him.
Yeah, well, he's saying he wants to be able to get more roles acting.
Yeah.
Outside of playing like himself in his own like semi-biopic.
Well, he also has put on like 25 pounds and looks normal again because
the drugs.
The drugs.
Yeah. if you haven't seen King of Staten Island, it's such a good movie.
It won't make you feel good.
No,
but it's
it is
good.
a really good movie. And his did they pick up another season of that? He had like a show on Peacock or something.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
forgot
And
what
like
it was called.
it ended with him
you
like in
loved
a,
the start of it.
yeah, well, it was, dude, the very first episode, unbelievable. But it ended like with him in a car wreck, and it's like
Bupkis.
Bupkis. Yeah,
There you go.
They picked that up for another season.
I'm not sure.
Dang, that was a good show.
It was.
All right,
There you go. You know, it's the
so
little
many
things. With it.
squirrels.
But yeah, back to this. So after going through
wait,
this,
hold on. We should have Cat and Lawnmower. That should be
explained.
Yeah, clarified. If you don't know what we're talking, the text line.
Yeah.
We don't want. I don't. F
I
with
didn't
cats.
put a cat a cat in a lawnmower.
No. He was traumatized because a kid mowed the lawn.
So a stray cat had laid kittens inside the lawnmower bag, and
Yeah.
the kid went to start the lawnmower,
Yeah.
and the kittens went into the.
Yeah. It wasn't good, and it was a traumatic experience.
I was like 6. So the neighbor kid was like 12 or 13.
Yeah. And I was just talking about defining moments in
Yeah.
Danny's life that the fork could have happened.
Yeah. A lot of
Danny
times.
did not we don't F with cats. All right.
No.
All right.
There you go. So this guy took his wife to court.
Russ would have had a far more aggressive response if anything did happen with cats. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So guy takes wife to court.
So guy takes wife to court,
Mhm.
and you're not gonna believe this. He is ended up awarded a $120,000 settlement
From his wife?
from it doesn't state that he like left her, but
she's obviously got some coin if she dropped 150 on
mhm.
on plastic surgery. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, good for him.
Just I mean, when you see the picture, it's popped up from Chinese media, but also picked up nationally by local news channel, I think in LA.
Yeah.
It's
Jeez.
this like when you see the pictures.
Mhm.
Look, I'll be blunt. Attractive woman.
Dude, she's hot.
Like you would be like, yeah,
Mhm.
good
Does-
for you.
and it-
Good for you, brother.
She got really good work done. Doesn't look like she's had
it's
a lot of work.
high, no,
Yeah.
it's high end.
Yeah,
like,
150 G's. Yeah, she got the good stuff.
There was another woman also in China, weirdly enough, who had her bunch of plastic surgery and things affixed to her to make her look like she was in Cyberpunk. Like
I don't even know what that
it's
means.
a video game. It's placed in 2077,
Oh, cool.
and she looks like an android. I want to say she had like $150,000 worth of work done to do this. It's terrifying. Like she went back to her old village in China where things are significantly slower and further behind.
Yeah.
And it was like, what is happening here?
Dude, I just pull up this cyberpunk thing, and okay, it does look weird, but it's like the first picture that pops up here. I'll show this to the people watching on YouTube and you. Does this not look like Luka Doncic? Is Luka Doncic in that game?
There's 100% a mod for it. There's 100% a mod for that.
I just Googled cyberpunk, and that's the picture. It looks like Luka. It looks like Luka Doncic. It's like L.A. Luka popped up. He's wearing like a bulletproof vest and aviators. Kind of looks like Luka and James Corden had a baby, and he's in that video game. All right. Well, you learn something new every day. I learned a lot in this segment. So
Absolutely
did the
crazy.
people. So did the people who hadn't heard the cats in a lawnmower story.
Yeah, the text line is like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's not good, dude.
Yeah, no, it's
That was not a good situation.
no,
No.
terrifying.
Ugh.
So
Ugh.
coming up next, we alluded to it when it happened. Chris Haynes went on NBA TV and was talking about a situation in Atlanta as it pertains to Trey Young. Is there another potential all-star moved this summer? Or is there the groundwork being laid? We'll get to that and more coming up next year on Danny Dusty, Today the Fan. I've got a question for you. Following the NBA trade deadline, Chris Haynes was on NBA TV and alluded to the possible change that might take place with the Atlanta Hawks coming up.
I'm a pivot to Trey Young. That guy is a fierce competitor. He wants to win. I'm just saying he wants to win. So the direction of the Hawks is very, I would say, very unique, considering they know where he stands and what he wants to accomplish. I will say this. Before the San Antonio Spurs made the move for De'Aaron Fox, they were considering De'Aaron and they were considering Trey Young. But with the way that the Spurs are set up right now, they're not set up to start trying to win games and contend now. So there was never really a hurry to bring in an established point guard to move on to the next phase. But De'Aaron Fox kind of fell in their lap, and he picked them as the soul team that he wanted to play with. So they chose him. It was a much easier lift, an easier route to get De'Aaron. But Trey Young was on the San Antonio Spurs radar.
Oh.
As I mentioned the other day, there's no shortage of players that have been trying to hitch their wagon to Victor Wembanyama. Trey Young has tried since the second Wemby was drafted to get there. Like to be clear, he's the worst defensive guard in the league.
Not great, Bob.
He's transcendent offensively as a creator, can do absolutely insane things.
Incredible shooter.
But he also, his shooting has been in the dumps. He's shot under 40% from the field and 30% from three this year.
Not great, Bob.
No, it's been his efficiency has been horrendous, but all-world passer. But if you are somebody like Trey Young, who's not getting any stronger, not getting any taller, who's the one player that could possibly cover up your deficiencies and give you a real chance?
Jeremy Sohan?
No.
Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah, and it's not surprising. But there's been talk out of Atlanta for a couple of years, to be honest, about them getting out of the Trey Young world. There's been some of that in Charlotte about them wanting to get out of the LaMelo Ball business. Oh, brother, there's teams are looking at things, I think, a lot differently now.
I would say so.
So it's one of those things where you just kind of like look around the league. I wouldn't be surprised if this summer you saw Trey Young traded. It would not. It very much feels like this is Jalen Johnson's team going forward.
Oh.
Who has been like, if you're going to build your team around somebody, do you want to build it around a 5'11", 6-foot guard, or you want to build it around a 6'9" guy who
6'9",
who can do it all?
Yeah, and who a 6-foot guard that maybe his best basketball maybe behind him at this point too.
Yeah,
well.
you mean you're probably going to see him get beat up. That's kind of what comes with it. But I mean, before Jalen Johnson went down for the season with the injury, the season he was having, he's listed at 6'9", 220. He just turned 23, and this year he was averaging 19, 10, and 5 on 50, 32, 75 splits. Like, that's a guy who sounds like, he went from 2 points, 5 points to 16 to 19. Like, he is figuring it out. And I think the biggest indicator here is the last 2 years going from 3.6 to 5 assists. Jumbo creators are the biggest problem for defenses to stop, because you put somebody on him who's bigger, now he gets by you and he's creating for others. You put somebody on who's smaller, now he's doing it himself. That's why you see teams like Orlando with Paulo and Franz, and it's like, I don't think ultimately those two are going to work together long term because they kind of occupy the same space.
Agreed.
But it's better to have two 6'9+ guys who can.
They got the infinity bigs down there.
Yeah, but like there's a reason why they're collecting those guys. Yeah. These are the guys. It's not about trying to be the Golden State Warriors. It's not about trying to be the Boston Celtics and having 5 otherworldly shooters and just running this mechanical offense, right? It's about having more diversified, bigger players that can do more things.
Damn. As you were saying that, it just kind of like a lot of the frustrations and the fears that maybe some Blazer fans have right now is that a realization that Portland may be closer to Orlando right now and just collecting guys and not moving off of them when it's like, hey, you do something. like poking with the stick. The
They're
meme,
just-
poking with the stick.
They're just
move 'em.
being patient, and you can say that the patient, like, I agree that they should have tried to get something done this deadline, but again, I have not had anything come across my desk, so to speak, that I am aware of that they turned down. Now, if that changes,
yeah,
I'll hold it up to the light.
And turning things down is one thing, but and this is things that are much harder to uncover and parse out is, were they aggressive in finding things though too? Because it's not just like a one-way street where it's like, hey, they brought it to us and we turned it down. No, what was the level of interest they had in going out, being aggressive and saying, hey, you have something we want and we got something that can help you right now.
And that was what they did with Denny. And it's to the Charlotte Hornets' credit, they called the Lakers about Dalton Connect.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, we like Dalton. Can we take Dalton and your first round pick?
Roadhouse.
Like, for
and
Mark
they said,
Williams?
Okay. What? That was even like, honestly, the Lakers.
The stuff that stuff should have been the Mavericks.
Holy crap.
Should have been
yes,
the Mavericks.
Both of those things. The 2031 first and Dalton Connect should be in Dallas right now. Do you see the Nets are working on a buyout for Ben Simmons too? Clippers and Cavs are the front runners there. He's in the final year of his extension. This would be the most Ben Simmons things ever. He goes to one, and by the way, it's the Clippers and the Cavaliers, because there's 7 teams in the first or second apron that this is according to Bobby Marks. There's 7 teams in that first and second apron that are not allowed to sign a player that is waived or bought out and had a pre-existing salary of $12.8 million or more. Okay, they are Boston, Denver, Lakers, Milwaukee, Minnesota, Knicks, and Phoenix. Cavs and Clippers are 2 of the teams that are good enough to do this, that could use a guy with his skill set and bring him in. This would be the most Ben Simmons thing ever, to go to one of those teams, have a good run post All-Star break,
and convince somebody else to give him one more contract.
Somebody would give him way too much money.
I still had a foot on Ben Simmons Island 2 years ago. 2 years ago?
Is that a question?
Yeah, I'm thinking 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I
Ron Burgundy.
I have divested my Ben Simmons and Mo Bamba real estate.
Oh man, yeah.
That is no longer in my portfolio.
6, 5, and 7 isn't doing it for you for Ben Simmons. He's shooting 54% from the field though.
On what, 3 shots a game? 4?
Yeah, it would be like 7.
Yeah,
6.5. 6.5 per game.
I so wish he cared.
Wouldn't that be
I
great?
just so wish he cared. All right, let's pivot back to the NBA trade deadline one last time today and actually go through the transactions.
He's not made a 3-pointer in his last 10 games.
I mean, even attempting it is.
He's not made a 3-pointer at home this season.
That'll happen.
Oh,
it's tough,
dude.
It's tough.
Yeah.
So
he hasn't made a 3-pointer this year.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think he's
or last year, or the year before.
Mm-hmm.
His 3-point percentage since 2021
hasn't changed.
Is 0.
Yeah.
That is his entire time he's been in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
His 3-point percentage is 0.
Brother, have you watched him shoot? It looks like somebody pulled out of the crowd was made to shoot with the wrong hand.
He has been in the NBA, and I don't think he's attempted one. He's been in the NBA 7 years and has not made a 3-pointer in 5 of them.
No.
What?
Yeah, no, it's more than inability. It's mental.
Like, how is that possible?
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's centers.
My basketball coaches used to tell me, don't shoot. And I would make one.
Stumble into something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you watch him warm up, man, it's, number 1, it's really lazy. Number 2, it's awful. It looks like he's shooting with the wrong hand, and he probably is, because he shoots left-handed and he's right-handed.
I have not cared about Ben Simmons in so long. I knew, like, his first 2 years he didn't make one. That was like the big thing about him, is like, dude, are you serious right now?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, he meant that he got mentally broken, and I do feel bad for him.
I do too.
Like, yeah, he's got the money and all that, but
Well, money can buy you a lot of things. Apparently, happiness in a shot is not
No, definitely not.
either one of those things.
I mean, Georges Niang was on with Channing Frye. Was at the Road Tripping Pod,
Mm-hmm.
and he asked, like, who was one guy you just didn't bleep with? And he was like, Ben Simmons. That whole situation in Philly. He's like, he's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
He's like, he goes, I get it, but that whole thing.
Wow.
So, it is what it is. Smokes. But let's hit this trade deadline one more time and actually go through the transactions, and then we'll move on from there. Danny Dust, Danny the Fan.
.com. First on the Fan, the NBA trade deadline has passed. The biggest move of the past 24 hours, Jimmy Butler headed to the Warriors. Kyle Anderson moves to the Raptors. Andrew Wiggins and PJ Tucker to the Heat. Dennis Schroeder, meanwhile, takes a roundabout way to the Pistons. The Lakers acquiring center Mark Williams from the Hornets for Dalton Knecht, Cam Reddish, an unprotected first-round pick, and a pick swap. The Suns trading Yusuf Nurkic and a first-rounder to the Hornets for Cody Martin, Vasilije Micic, and a second-round pick. The Hawks trading forward DeAndre Hunter to the Cavaliers for Karis LeVert, George Niang, 3 second-round picks, and 2 pick swaps. The Clippers trading Terrence Mann and Bones Highland to the Hawks for Bogdan Bogdanovic and 3 second-round picks. The Grizzlies sending Marcus Smart to the Wizards in a multi-team deal that will send 2 second-round picks to Memphis. No moves for the Trailblazers today. They host the Kings tonight. 7 o'clock tip on K2 2.2 on your antenna or Xfinity Channel 302. Matisse Thybulle is still out. Meanwhile, for Sacramento, the newly acquired Jonas Valanciunas is available. The Blazers have won 9 of their last 10 and are 1-point underdogs. Thunder forward center Chet Holmgren expected to return Friday against the Raptors. He's missed the last 39 games with a fractured pelvis. And ESPN Shams Charania reporting the Nets working on a buyout of guard Ben Simmons, which would make him a free agent. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Slam Dunk in Vegas is our nationwide contest for a chance to have the ultimate tournament viewing experience with 3 of your friends. More info at 1080thefan.com. Super Week is all about fattening foods,
Put the good meat out for Dusty.
big screens,
Come to my garage and we'll film something, bud.
and good sportsmanship.
I got a lot of problems with you people.
How about you shut up?
This is Danny and Dusty on Super Week.
Injured? Don't trust just anyone to something so personal. Call George McCoy at Warren Allen. Online at warrenallen.com.
Danny and Dusty on 1080. The Fan.
Hour number 3 here on Danny and Dusty on a trade deadline NBA day on Super Week. It's every day we have led with the NBA during the week leading up to the Super Bowl. This has got to be a new first.
Well, this is the NBA's revenge on the NFL for taking over Christmas Day.
Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, the Super Bowl storylines are
I mean, I believe that.
few and far between.
I believe it. I'm still caught up on Ben Simmons and when his last three-pointer was made. Do you know when the last three-pointer that Ben Simmons made was?
2020.
Well, yeah. March 17th of 2021. So it was the 2020-2021 season.
Which is resumed after COVID.
Against the Milwaukee Bucks.
Good Lord.
Yeah. Where he went 1 for 1 from 3. That is the last time that he has made a three-point shot.
Yeah, that's a mental thing, man. That's not just skill. That's a mental thing.
I would say so.
It's tough, too, because he's talented as hell.
I mean, not shooting three-pointers, obviously, but my gosh, so bad.
So,
okay.
There were a couple transactions that slipped under the wire, as it were, before the final bell hit on the end of deadline day at noon, Pacific Coast time. A three-way deal between the Washington Wizards, Memphis Grizzlies, and Sacramento Kings, where the Grizzlies punted on Marcus Smart.
Yeah,
this
interesting.
Was
this was their
super weird
big move to help bolster the backcourt defensively
last year,
and it to pull the ripcord this quickly is something. And to you talk about doing right by guys. How about doing Marcus Smart dirty? Just be like, yeah, go defend anything in Washington, pal.
And here's where the Washington Wizards, a team that is
100
very bad, prioritize going and getting a veteran.
They're giving up 121 points per game.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I mean, they're horrendous.
121. Whoa. Woof.
They're horrendous. In doing what the Grizzlies did, I'm trying to pull up their financials here real quick. Where did they go? I just lost them. Stupid Grizzlies. There we are. Memphis. They have negative cap space, but I believe they just got in under the apron line. Yes. So
which is why you make that move.
Yes. And they gave up a first that's not going to be great, the late first, to take that money. But to punt on that so fast is just weird.
I think it is a sign of, look, when things aren't working, when it's not going the direction that you want it to, pull that ripcord, get out of it, and get whatever you can out of it. I mean, and I'm going to stop it before anybody else comes up with this idea and says, well, the Blazers should do that because they're winning too many games. The problem with the Blazers is that things are working for them, and you don't want to pull the ripcord on that necessarily unless you get value back in return. But that move, it does make sense. The fact of the matter is that it wasn't just like an active trade deadline in regards to the amount of moves, the magnitude of the moves, because we still haven't even talked about the Jimmy Butler trade yet.
No, I was going to get through the scraps here real quick. The Bucks swapped Kevin Porter Jr. for Marjon Beauchamp because they're desperate. Kevin Porter Jr., terrible human, but more skilled at basketball. So that's where you go. Some other things were kicked around. The Pistons, as a part of the Jimmy Butler trades, let's get to that. The Jimmy Butler trade led to some seconds, as it were, where Butler ends up going to
Golden
State because they couldn't find the Beal landing spot and the Kevin Durant part of it, where he would have potentially gone to either the Bay or Miami, wasn't netting the Suns the returns that they wanted because they wanted to try to recoup some of the assets that they gave up to get him, which was a truckload.
Yeah.
So the deal that ends up happening has Jimmy Butler going to the Warriors. Miami gets Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, PJ Tucker, and a protected first-round pick this year from the Warriors. The Jazz receive Dennis Schroeder, and the Pistons receive Lindy Waters and Josh Richardson.
Dude, how about the last 5 days that it's been for PJ Tucker? February 1st, Clippers trade him to the Jazz. Jazz trade him to the Heat on the 5th, and the Heat trade him to the Raptors on the 6th.
You went from one side of the country to the other side of the continent.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude.
It's tough.
That is 4 cities, 2 countries.
Well, and how about Dennis Schroeder?
Yeah.
From the Warriors to the Heat to the Jazz to the Pistons.
Yeah. And the Pistons are going to keep him.
Jeez.
So that's where they're going to do it. That was a spot that I threw out as a potential Anthony Simons landing spot if the Blazers could get something done, but what they gave up for him was nothing. And I think what the Pistons opted for, instead of going for a more premium player like Ant, they went for the stopgap and they gave up nothing to do it. And I think those are the choices that you saw teams make. Like I saw somebody say, well, I thought Cleveland might be a team that go after Jeremy. Well, as the DeAndre Hunter trade that saw DeAndre Hunter leave the Hawks and go to the Cavs for Georges Niang, Karis LeVert, 3 seconds and 2 swaps. That deal was, from somebody that I talked to, was the Atlanta Hawks, as we talked about Trey Young, shorting DeAndre Hunter, which, if you remember right, DeAndre Hunter and Trey Young were the 2 picks that they made after trading the pick that became Luka. So if they move Trey, they will have officially moved on from that era in the same way that the Dallas Mavericks have moved on from Luka.
Wow.
Think about that. Bonkers. But DeAndre Hunter, as good as he's been this year, so I've given him 19 a game. But it's injury concerns. But the Hawks were like, hey, he's playing well, let's get better. And it was somebody told me that they were shorting him.
And he's out.
So I think when you kind of look around at a lot of the deals, the big one that we haven't talked about also is Brandon Ingram going to Toronto.
For Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, a second rounder, and then a
protected
2026
Indiana Pacers first. That is top 4, top 5 protected, not heavily protected.
So they'll get it.
It'll be probably a 18 through 22 pick kind of a deal, 16.
You can see it anywhere from
unlikely to be in the lottery
to mid 20s. Yeah.
It's a perfectly fine pick, but the return for Anthony Davis is now gone, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we're talking about a lot of teams paid penance for previous mistakes this cycle.
Right.
Over and over and over again. Like Josh Hart's gone, Lonzo Ball's gone.
Well, that to me is what the Blazers went through when they traded CJ McCollum down to New Orleans, which was New Orleans is at a pivot point where you got to pick a path.
Yep.
They are the worst team in the Western Conference right now.
Yeah.
it's no longer the Utah Jazz.
No, and
The New Orleans Pelicans are the worst team in the West.
And I said I figured the Pelicans would win some games, but then DeJounte Murray's Achilles exploded, and now they've dealt away Brandon Ingram, and they're probably going to shut down Zion, and it's going to be the Trey Murphy show. Which, I mean, Trey's fun. Trey's really good. I mean, he had 41 the other night.
Yeah, good luck with that.
But, yeah, it's just kind of going through all of the deals. Jonas Valanciunas gets moved to the Kings for C.D. Sissoko and 2 second-round picks.
Yeah, Bogdan Bogdanovic going to the Clippers is a sneaky good move, man.
That's the thing is I don't think it is because Bogey's been cooked.
For Bones Highland?
A guy that people want to get rid of.
That's a move, though, that gets him under the second apron. Or first apron.
Yes.
And now they are in a situation where that's where it gets sneaky in that they can go into that buyout market, a la Ben Simmons, who, by the way, has not attempted a 3-point shot since February 9th of 2023. That is about to turn 2 years old.
Remember,
I got Ben Simmons facts for days.
Just wanted to point this out. Remember when the Clippers and 76ers were discussing the Harden trade, Terrence Mann was off limits. Terrence Mann was just traded with Bones Highland and 3 second-round picks for Bogdan Bogdanovic, Bogey, who has been very bad this year. Father Time reached up and snatched his soul.
Yikes, dog.
It just happened.
I think he can find a renaissance.
I mean, it's a good place.
It's a place where expectations on you are very low. Reset. Style of play going to be far different without Trey Young dominating the ball. Well,
I don't know. I don't know if this is necessarily the move that they needed to make, but I guess if you're going to get rid of Terrence Mann, he can step into that role, I guess.
Yeah.
Question mark?
Yeah. This trade deadline, though, start to finish, when you think Jimmy Butler to Golden State, Luka Doncic to the Lakers,
Anthony Davis to the Mavs,
AD to the Mavs,
all NBA / All-Star players that were moved.
Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, De'Aaron Fox. I mean, Chris Middleton, old, but they moved on from him. We're like, deuces, out. You know, like there was
Zach LaVine.
Ton of movement of big names across the NBA. Wiggins in Miami, let's go.
That nobody thought was going to moved after Luka. The Luka earthquake, whatever you want to call what happened, it like rattled the halls of every single NBA front office.
In the NBA,
and they
whether
just said,
it was
"Screw
intentional or not, sent a message to their players that, no, we still are in control. This offseason, probably going to see a whole hell of a lot of players trying to get that Bradley Beal no trade clause.
Yeah, I don't think another team is ever going to give that again.
Yeah, they shouldn't. Unless it's LeBron James.
Honestly, Wemby or maybe Luke. Nah, Luka, no. Wemby might be the only one, and you can't get it until you're 10.
Do you think that maybe?
At least that's how it was under the old CBA. It was either 9 years of service or 10 years of service. I can't remember what it was, but you couldn't get it without it.
I think Giannis may be in play for that.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
He seems like
because he's been the loyal guy.
Yeah. And say, if you guys really are going to move on from me, it's going to be on my terms where I want to go. He might be like one of the only other guys that will do that.
Yeah, I think he's got 2 years left on his deal.
Jeez.
So, yeah, it's an interesting spot to go. You want to talk some football?
I would love to. I love football.
Well,
I mean, we have still a lot of angry people, but yeah, I'd like to talk some football for a minute.
I was going to say we highlighted it at the end of the show yesterday with Ohio State making one move. They made a pretty sizable move in committing to their head coach going forward.
Giannis has 3 more years.
3 more years.
Or 2 in a player option.
There it is.
So yeah.
That's what I thought.
At 54, 58, and $62 million.
And that's the low side. Yeah, players are making $70+ million. It's crazy. But Ohio State has made a commitment going forward to the coach that some thought might get fired just 12 months ago. Danny Dusty, Danny the Fan. Ohio State making a move to keep their guy, Ryan Day, getting the extension, which, should probably happen after you win a national title.
Yeah, I wonder how the Ohio State fans all grapple with this, right? Because they won a national title with the most talented roster in college football. They had the two of the highest paid coordinators in college football. Chip being the highest offensive coordinator, highest paid offensive coordinator. Jim Knowles, not so much. He went and became the highest paid defensive coordinator in college football by going within the conference to Penn State. But there was this hesitancy about Ryan Day. Could he be the guy that gets it done? He gets them over the hump, and they win a national title, and they did it emphatically. Now he's got to replace both of his coordinators. And
he's done one.
A lot of talent. Yeah. Brian Hartline will be the offensive coordinator. And I think they already have their defensive coordinator too. Do they not? But you have got a lot of talent that is going to be leaving. Michigan just put the finishing touches on one of the best offensive line recruiting classes in college football history. I'm still not going to go as far as to say it was better than Stanford's offensive line class from like 2010 or 11 or something like that. But it is, Michigan's not going anywhere. He needs to get over that Michigan hump. This dude deserves to be the second highest paid coach in college football because that's what he is. He's only behind Kirby Smart with this new deal. And he entered that list. It's a very short list of guys who have won national titles in college football. I mean,
it's 3 guys that are active.
Kirby, Dabo,
Day.
And so, yeah, you give that guy an extension, and he's going to be there for better or for worse for a really damn long time in Columbus, Ohio.
It's very funny when you talk about him, about, should he be out? His 6 seasons at Ohio State, he is 70-10. He has an 87.5% winning percentage, the highest in the sport currently, and it's the 3rd highest in college football history.
Crazy. He's going to...
It's so funny because he's so unlikable.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, think about who has been as successful as him, but been knocked down and belittled and berated and cast aside more than him.
Jim Harbaugh before the national title, like the guy who was going to get fired at his rival because he couldn't do the same things that Ryan Day couldn't do, which was he couldn't beat Ohio State. And then he finally beats Ohio State, and then he gets his national championship. It was like, deuces, did it, bye, gone.
But do you think Harbaugh was...
People still loved Harbaugh, though.
Yeah, as I was saying, I don't think it was because that's the thing is, like, nobody likes Ryan Day.
I'll put my hand up. I kind of like him.
I'm just...
Kind of.
Somebody... I think it was Josh Pate?
But is there a reason why people don't like him?
The beard dye.
It's the beard dye.
I genuinely think it is. Like, it's so egregious that it's like, no, bro, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
I wonder if he just let it go. If he would just be embraced.
If people would be like, you know what? Finally, I could get behind you, pal. Maybe.
I would love to see him try.
Just show up, Mr. Graybeard, out of nowhere.
Just don't sit in your office for a while. Don't make any appearances after you sign this contract.
I would love that.
Just let it. Hell, shave it off and let it grow back all natural. Just let what happens happen.
I would like that. Or maybe if he just comes back week 1, no beard,
just might.
And then as the game comes to be against Michigan, all of a sudden you're like, wait, that's a big old gray beard. He looks like Santa Claus out there. I'd be in.
See,
I think you're right on that.
This is how he makes it right.
Do right by us.
You have a chance, Ryan Day. You have a chance to do this, to save your legacy. It's not about winning and losing. It's about embracing your gray. It's not the scarlet and black, buddy. It's the scarlet and gray.
There we go. Just saying.
I like it.
I'm in.
All right, coming up next, we'll get to more of your feedback following the Portland Trailblazers deadline or lack thereof. But first, here's the Big Kahuna with a Sports Center update.
You ever had a Big Kahuna burger?
It's a Super Week edition of Danny and Dusty.
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
Now, Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
If you've been arrested for DUI, you need a team of attorneys into whom you can place your trust. Call Reynolds Defense Firm today, online at reynoldsdefensefirm.com. First on The Fan, the NBA trade deadline has passed. The biggest move of the last 24 hours, Jimmy Butler going to the Warriors. Kyle Anderson then moves to the Raptors. Andrew Wiggins, PJ Tucker to the Heat, and Dennis Schroeder takes a roundabout way to the Pistons. The Lakers acquired center Mark Williams from the Hornets for Dalton Knecht, Cam Reddish, an unprotected first-round pick, and a pick swap. The Suns trading Yusuf Nurkic and a first-rounder to the Hornets for Cody Martin, Vasilija Micic, and a second-round pick. The Hawks sending forward DeAndre Hunter to the Cavaliers for Karis LeVert, George Niang, 3 second-round picks, and 2 pick swaps. And the Clippers trading Terrence Mann and Bones Highland to the Hawks for Bogdan Bogdanovic and 3 second-round picks. The Grizzlies, meanwhile, trading Marcus Smart to the Wizards in a multi-team trade that will send 2 second-round picks back to Memphis. No moves for the Trailblazers today. They host the Kings tonight, 7 o'clock tip on K2 2.2 on your antenna, Xfinity Channel 302. For Sacramento, the newly acquired Jonas Valanciunas is available. The Blazers have won 9 of their last 10 and are 1-point underdogs. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Did you score a smart speaker over the holidays? Just ask it to play 1080 The Fan.
Getting some of your thoughts here on the Vancouver Ford text line following the NBA trade deadline ending 2.5 hours ago. Somebody asked if the Blazers were the only team that did not make a move. The Magic, Nets, Nuggets, Wolves, and Blazers are the teams that did not make moves.
I am looking back though. Just I put since February 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this month, 6 days, because deadline spur action.
Sure.
Okay. 24 teams in the NBA made a trade.
Mm-hmm.
The 6 that did not in the last 6 days are the Blazers,
Mm-hmm.
Nets,
Mm-hmm.
Pacers,
Mm-hmm.
Magic, Nuggets, Wolves.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to extrapolate it out and you go back into like January,
The Nets did because they moved
Nets in Indiana.
Schroeder to get away from him.
They moved. Well, yeah,
But they didn't move Cam Johnson.
yeah. They and there's been a lot of teams that have made moves like in season, right? Like both the Pacers in December 15th got Thomas Bryant.
Because they lost Isaiah Jackson to the ruptured Achilles.
Yep.
And James Wiseman.
But so if you look at it, there's only 4 teams that have not made an in-season move this season: Portland, Orlando, Denver, and Minnesota. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're wondering, wow, wait, are Blazers the only team? No, but they're one of a few that have not made any moves, transactions in the season via trade. So in Utah, my God, Danny Ainge is wheeling and dealing, and just
a crackhead who loves second-round picks.
Second-round picks, and like you think of remember when they just did the swap with Phoenix just for nothing but picks?
Well, yeah, that was him turning the 3 lower valued picks into one juicy pick. Because he gave the 3 lesser of the picks that he had between Utah, Minnesota, and Cleveland over 3 years for the one unprotected 2031. And that is something you're going to see in the NBA a lot over the next couple of years, because the teams like Utah, Oklahoma City, Houston, San Antonio, who am I forgetting here, that control so many of the picks, they physically cannot roster them.
No.
They will have to consolidate and give some stuff away. Like Sam Presti, they have 4 picks this year. They can't make them.
No. Don't have a roster spot. Their G League teams would be amazing.
Well, I mean, you got to get guys to agree to 2-way contracts.
So Drew Eubanks and Patty Mills were dealt out of Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Danny Ainge flipped those 2 guys for 5 second-round picks and 2 contracts that will not be on the books for next year.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about clearing the deck and just saying, all right, we're going to go ahead and do it.
Took on Jalen Hood-Schifino and
I don't know who the other one is.
I'm trying to think of who the other one is. That's going to stay. They might just buy him. I think they're a car wash right now.
Mm-hmm. Turn them out.
Yeah,
Let's go.
Danny's Car Wash comes in and washes you of your bad contracts for a nominal fee.
Yeah, I think that is a staggering number at the trade deadline, though. 24 teams.
Yeah, it is.
In 6 days, 24 teams.
Luka unlocked everything because everything.
And that was on the 2nd, by the way. That was February 2nd. You want to talk about when all of this stuff went down?
Mm-hmm.
It was holy guacamole. The first one on February 1st was Drew Eubanks and Patty Mills to the Clippers for Mo Bamba, PJ Tucker, a 2030 second-round pick, and cash considerations. From that point on, February 2nd, Doncic and Davis trade set the NBA on fire.
Mm-hmm. And it made the organizations that had those big money guys that have been sitting for a couple of years, as far as like the fear of them leaving, in the Ingrams and Levines and what they were going to do and not do with them, to finally just say screw it.
We're just go.
Like the Bulls have been trying to move Levine for 2 years,
and that like all of that movement. That's where that frustration comes in from Blazer fans to be like, yeah, we are one of 6 that didn't make a trade. We are one of 4 that have not made a trade this entire season. That's what like we're gearing up for, right? Like that's where that frustration comes in. And I get that frustration.
This is an organization that's not going to pay the tax for a team that's not good, right?
Right.
Okay. So they're not paying the tax this year. Heading into next year, they are $3.4 million above the tax line already. So moves will be made.
My goodness.
At minimum. So even if you think they're the dumbest, most selfish, poorly run franchise, mathematically alone, they have to make moves. They have to make moves.
Well, let's see it.
So, again, I'm starting to think that they prefer to do their business in the summer for whatever reason. It may be a question that I asked today at the press conference. I don't know. By the way, the press conference has been confirmed. It will be at 4:45.
All right.
Press availability. I don't think we're carrying it here live, but I'll be live tweeting it if you want to follow along. And I'm sure
that's in the middle of In the News.
Yeah, and not only that, the Trailblazers will probably stream it, I would imagine.
Yeah, they will.
And if they don't, like I said, I'll be.
Danny's on the live stream.
I'll be live tweeting it.
Is Periscope still a thing?
No, and we're not actually not supposed to stream live inside the building. That's not even a Blazers thing. That's an NBA thing. So, whatever.
We're a GoPro.
I mean, I do have
the Ray-Ban.
I do have the little setup that I can just set it down and let it
Wear
go.
the Ray-Ban glasses.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
The Google Glass.
Dude,
broadcast it. There's a question in here. I thought it was a really good question. Where did it go? Of the teams who made trades to get better, who actually ended up getting worse?
In an attempt to get better?
Yeah.
Dallas.
Yeah, right?
But then again, you could say the Lakers too, though, because does Mark Williams fix the problem that the Los Angeles Lakers have in their front court? In theory, he does.
Yeah.
But how many games that guy missed? He's missed a third of his games?
No, he's only played a third.
So he's missed 2/3 of his games in his career.
He's played 30.
And he's 23 years old.
38.7% of his games.
So, I mean, it could be either one of those teams that you sit there and you're like, ooh, that doesn't make too much sense.
I think the move that is getting Luka no matter what is the best move.
It's a good move.
Let me put that to the side. Getting the best 25-year-old player, most accomplished 25-year-old I think we've ever seen.
And it may not work. And here's the thing: it may not work this year. But if it doesn't work this year, how many more do you have with LeBron though?
And like that, you're Los Angeles, and the whole reason of you're LA. You just get things. That's how you got Luka Doncic. Things just go your way.
Help the Lakers.
Yeah. Now look, I've seen some people saying, why did Charlotte help the Lakers? Because they took them to the cleaners.
Yeah, they did. They actually got an
unprotected first-round pick for a big that's played 39% of his games
in 2031.
Look, and again, I don't trust the Lakers in first-round picks because of what we just saw with Luka Doncic, what we've seen with Anthony Davis, what we've seen with LeBron James, what we've just go down the list. It happens. It just continues to happen. Yep. Pau Gasol, you can find it every single time. It's very dumb. I'm tired of it. But the move to me that it's the opposite of this, I think, is the one that nobody's talking about, is DeAndre Hunter going to the Cavs. I think that's a massive move because the thing they've been missing is that viable wing at that 3 spot. And I think that makes that Cavs team dangerous as hell.
Question. LeBron James has a player option next year. Could you see a world where LeBron James opts out of that, signs for lesser money, knowing that it's like he's got 1 or 2 more years left in him?
That was the theory that immediately came out in the media circles was, is LeBron gone?
No, sticks around to play with Luka and says, you know what? I know people will come to LA. Mm-hmm. I know they'll come to play with me.
I mean, he tried to do it last year to an extent,
but he can actually do it this year by opting out of that deal, taking a veteran minimum, saying, I still got Bronny next to me. I've got Luka.
I don't think he takes the vet minimum.
Well, no, we're not.
Yeah, I know.
Who are we kidding here?
Yeah.
He takes $25 million and says,
I'd have to look at their cap situation to fully know what they have.
Well, coming off the books this next year, Christian Wood at 3, Jackson Hayes at 2.5, Markieff Morris at 2.5, and then
no real money.
I mean, no real money. So that's why he would need to take significantly less. If he takes $30 million, that opens up 22 for them to play with.
Well, it may not be that way because of where they are in relation to the cap and the aprons. So even if his 50 plus comes off, they may not get 50 and usable. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Because of salary math.
Yeah.
because it doesn't make any sense.
I hate it.
Yeah, no, it's very dumb. Another team here that tried to get better that may have gotten worse from the Vancouver Ford text line, Milwaukee. I think it's up for a debate. Now, the idea of Chris Middleton
Chris Middleton
is
was not that guy.
significantly better
Not that guy, pal.
than Kyle Kuzma. But, guys, I watched Chris Middleton play up close and in person, and I watched him move. I love Chris. Like, I genuinely mean that. Like, I loved him as a player. I don't think after he picks up his player option next year that he is a viable NBA player.
Mm-mm.
Like, his mobility is just
His
gone.
ankles are shot.
Yeah.
And they're toast.
And kind of Portland adjacent, the same is true with Nurk.
Mm-hmm.
I think Nurk might be just writing out his contract and getting the old Timofey Mozgov at this point, which I hate to see because I love the dude. But I will say, if you want to be happy about something as a Blazers fan, you made the right move going with Toumani Camara and DeAndre Ayton.
Hey, there you go. Yeah.
So,
yeah. All right.
Celebrate that, I guess?
Yeah.
Question mark?
Hey, some news that just came out.
Mm.
Ipe Muzahara, the interpreter for Shohei Ohtani.
Oh, yeah.
5 years in the clink.
Oh.
Yeah. He's getting 5 years in prison. He done.
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah,
Damn.
I would say so. And he's been
quick.
ordered to pay $17 million back to the star, admitting bank and tax fraud charges. He's also ordered to pay more than $1 million to the IRS in past taxes. Whoa. That's brutal, dude. Well, don't steal from Shohei Ohtani. Moral of the story.
Yeah.
Do we believe Shohei now? I do.
I mean, sure, to an extent.
Whoa.
To an extent.
Okay.
$17 million went missing? You didn't notice? Come on, dog.
Well, I mean,
come on, dog.
I don't have hundreds of millions of dollars, so I don't know what that's like.
Look,
I think right now
I do it on scale.
I would
missing
notice
$17 from my account. Look, I make good money. I'm fine.
You'd notice $17.
Okay, that's 70.
Yeah, I wouldn't miss
170.
Yeah, if
170, I'd notice.
Yeah,
I'd be like, that is because I'm not somebody who follows my bank account disgustingly close.
Yeah.
But I will probably check it once a day. Okay. Just where are things at? What has gone through, what hasn't. Okay, and I keep kind of a running tally in my head.
Well, I think that is financially responsible. I do believe most people would be like, yeah, that is disgustingly close. Even once a day.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, checking your bank account once a day. I think
For those wondering,
most
I had
people
my
don't.
identity stolen long before identity theft was a thing.
Yeah.
I had it happen when I was overseas. I had to go to court and fight it for 2 years.
Again, all of these things track.
Yeah. It cost me $50,000. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, bet you didn't use your credit card in that massage parlor again.
No, somebody bought a boat when I was in Afghanistan. Yeah. And they're like, hey, you bought a boat. And I go, no, I didn't. And they said, you signed for it.
See,
and
that
I
is.
said, and again, this is in 2003.
This is
long before identity
one of the
theft
things
was
that you need. Yeah, I had a buddy who went to go buy his first home, and they're like, "You own property in Georgia?" And he's like, "No, I don't.
No, I don't.
have not." They're like, "It's actually being foreclosed on." He's like, "Yeah, that makes sense because I don't know about that property in Georgia. Not him. Yeah, and you know what the screwed up part about that was? He was super responsible guy. And apparently, he had to prove that he didn't purchase that land when he was in middle school, and he was young in his 20s, going to buy a house, and they're he did everything
the right way, yeah,
everything right, and they're like, no, sorry, your credit's screwed. And he had to prove. He's like, what do I need to prove? I was 12 years old.
It was the same as me.
What do you want? What do you want me to do here?
I had to go to court, and they were like, can you prove that this wasn't you doing this? And there's video with the old VHS with the timestamp in the corner of me in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. That's me.
Do you want me to grab my commander? You want me to grab my lieutenant? Do you want me to grab my NCO? What do you want me to do?
We need to change that.
I'm like,
we need to change that.
Yeah, I didn't sign for a boat.
Yup.
Dog.
Nope.
So yeah, it took me a long time to get that all sorted out. The Portland Trailblazers play again tonight. They get it underway against the Sacramento Kings. You get to see the new look Kings. What happens if the Blazers win again? And it's 10 out of 11. Danny and Dusty, 10 out of the fan.
They're favored.
I am now finding out that I am not normal as it pertains to my bank account.
Yeah.
I thought that was normal.
No. Hey, it's fiscally responsible of you to check it once a day, but if we're being quite honest,
I thought that was a normal thing. Like, just take a quick look.
no, I don't think a lot of people do that.
Really?
Yeah.
It's just so easy.
More people should.
It
is easy.
It's like, sign in, bloop, bloop.
Yep, and then you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, everything looks on the up and up here.
Yeah.
No,
I guess
don't think most people
the
do that.
trauma of having my credit score driven down into a 0, basically.
Yeah.
Well, it went defunct while I was on the other side of the planet. Has a lot to do with that.
Oh, nice.
Who knew? Speaking of numbers and credits and all those things, the Portland Trailblazers favorites?
Kind of.
They depends on which book you go to. If you go to DraftKings, they are indeed favorites tonight.
No.
I'm sorry, dogs tonight. ESPN has them as favorites.
Yeah.
There is a 2.5 point margin between the two, that's a lot.
I don't know what to believe, but nobody. Oh wait, nope. Sacramento's now 1.5 on ESPN too. So they are underdogs.
Okay, so
on the bottom line today, the Blazers were favored by 1.5. It is changed to Sacramento -1.5.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because
don't bet on the Blazers anyways.
Because the Kings getting boat raced the other night, it's got to be a motivating factor.
Against the hottest team in basketball. One of the 6 teams that did not make a move.
There you go.
Huh? Yeah.
Boy.
Don't know if that's inspiring, folks.
It's gonna be very weird to see DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine together on the same team, not with the Bulls.
What are we? Yeah.
And Jonas Valanciunas and DeMar, not on the Raptors.
Oh, yeah. Well, how about that?
Oh yeah, no, they're collecting former defunct teams.
Tonight in the NBA, Blazers tickets second cheapest in the entire NBA. Get in the door as low as $8 to see the Blazers. The lowest, Rockets at Timberwolves, $5. Dude, that's a good game for $5.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you right now, the Target Center is a nice building. It's a really nice building.
Never been there.
Oh, they did. Look, Minnesota. They did well with their stadiums: baseball field, football stadium, and basketball court.
Well,
all great.
2 of them are named after Target.
Yeah. Well,
the other one's U.S. Bank, so nailing it.
Who was the bank that I had to sue?
Oh, hey,
I'll never go back to them ever again.
Hey, did the Wild play at this Target Center?
Yes.
All right.
Great building.
Never think about hockey.
Yeah.
All right, I promise tomorrow's going to be Football Friday. It's going to be Super Bowl, baby.
We're going to finally get to it.
Let's get it, baby.
We'll get you all your sicko prop bets.
All right. At 3 o'clock today, Primetime with Isaac and Suk. 4 hours of power from their mouths to your ears. This is Primetime with Isaac and Suk. We'll see you tomorrow, noon to 3, right here on The Fame.
Bye.
Our pets' heads are falling off!
This is the story of the one.